Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. As ever, we're going to start with the Nash news. Today, I've managed to pin him down. The man, forget Tony, forget the Witch Project. It's Alan Blair.
Hello, Hassan.
How are you, mate?
I'm all right.
Yeah?
I'm all right. I can't believe I'm finally sitting back in front of a microphone doing this. I think I did the first episode. I've never been invited back since.
That's poor form from the boys.
Well, now you're here, like
every week, mate.
Got someone decent at the helm to get me back on. Nah, thank you. It's nice to see you, mate.
Not at all, mate. We're going to talk today about cold water carping. So I follow, as everyone does, you on Insta, mate. You managed to consistently catch carp pretty much through cold water times, reduced daylight hours. Talk to us about your tips, if you like, for keeping your catch rate up during cold water conditions.
Yeah, I want to carry on catching them, Hassan. You know, I have done for a number of years, but I'm also super conscious, as I think the majority of anglers are, that it gets harder and harder the colder it gets. And I've been kind of inundated the last couple of weeks by people just wanting a bit of info. How can I carry on getting bites? What should I be doing? Is there a rig change I should be making, a bait change and stuff like that? I should point out that I probably definitely learnt the hard way. I spent many a winter struggling, bro.
Yeah.
You know, really struggling. Like some winters catching nothing.
Yeah.
But because the angler inside me wanted to be outside, wanted to be fishing, and there was always that glimmer of hope you might get a frosty match shot or even a snow shot, you know. That's what drove me to carry on going. But I was dreadful. And I made a lot of fundamental errors.
Right.
Now, and you know, as you highlighted over the last few years, I have managed to maintain catches.
Yeah, ridiculous.
December, January, February. And I think the biggest bit of advice I'd give to people who want to continue with their carp fishing into the depths of the cold weather would be kind of drop your expectations and become more realistic about what you think you might achieve. You know, so back in that era when I basically spent all winter blanking, or at the very best caught the odd one or two fish,
sure, I
kind of stuck on the same water that I'd done my spring, summer and autumn on. They were usually big waters, low stocks.
Yeah. And
failed as a result of it. Now, and for the last good few years anyway, if I want to go out for a day's or a night carp fishing in the cold weather, I have to be much more realistic about trying to achieve something. So am I going to turn up on an 100-acre pit and manage to... No. You know, the carp's behaviour changes. They become much more lethargic. They're not moving around that big pit or that big long stretch of river or whatever anymore. They're kind of... They've gone into some kind of bolt hole or area and they're going to reside there until that water temperature picks back up again. So picking somewhere heavily stocked, for example, is going to stack the odds much more in your favour. Picking somewhere that will react to a little bit of sunshine. So a nice shallow lake, for example, that even though, for example, it could have a lid on it, when that ice defrosts and it gets 2 or 3 days of nice warm sunshine, those carp in there, because the water depth might only be 2-3 foot, they're moving around, and the moment they're moving around, they're using energy, and the moment they're using energy, they're much more likely to need and want to eat something. I probably fish the river more in the winter than I do in the sort of the summer months, because again, those carp, they have to keep moving. You know, when the floods come through, it really messes with their life, you know, and they have to move and get into areas of sanctuary and slacks and stuff. And again, going back to that, the more they're moving, the more they need to eat to rebuild that energy up. So yeah, just be realistic about what you think you can achieve.
I like that.
Shorten your sessions down. Make sure you go with a friend.
So how do you do... So this is a classic. So shorten your sessions down, obviously, is going to keep you probably a little bit more motivated because you're quite intense angling in that time. For you, how do you pinpoint the best times to target said water, that sort of highly stocked water?
Yeah, of course, like I'd be looking for a bit of warmth. Yeah. You know, if it's been freezing cold and the old weatherman says, yeah, we got a couple of days now, it's going to be 10, 12, 14 degrees, I'll be rubbing my hands together thinking, right, where's the shallowest park lake? Where's the, you know, anywhere really with not so much depth to it. Yeah. That sun penetrating onto that surface of the water is going to warm the water up faster than a deeper lake.
There's life, isn't there?
And things are going to start moving about. And the moment they're moving about, the more likely they are to come across your rig or your hook bait and want to eat it, want to pick it up.
Yeah, nice. I like that. So obviously shorten your sessions down. Be realistic on your expectations. What else? Tactics, baits.
Yeah, I think, again, you know, it's banged on about forever and a day, watercraft, location.
Yeah.
But in the winter, it actually is more important than any other time. I always work on the principle that if I turn up at a venue, any venue, in the warmer months, and I've got a decent rig and a decent bait, even if I can't get into the area I want, you know, a really good peg or where I believe the carp to be, I still go into that session relatively confident because those fish are traveling and moving so much, especially if there's other anglers present. You know, the pressure's going to move them around and stuff. Just the times of the day and that, they're going to visit different areas of the lake. And I always go into that session thinking, even if I've not got where I really want to be, good rig, good bait, good presentation, I'm in with a chance, bro. You're genuinely in with a chance. And over a night, for example, fish may well pass over a baited rig and you may well get a pickup. In the winter, it don't work like that. You can have like the very best bait in the whole world, the very best rig, you know, but they ain't passing over you. So it becomes even more paramount that you get that rig into the vicinity of where those fish are. And I learned a good few years ago that doesn't always necessarily mean deep water. A lot of people might listen to this and thinking, yeah, great, I'm going to go to the deepest bit of the lake. That's where all the fish are going to be. But it can actually be the polar opposite. And I fished a number of venues where what the carp are looking for is they're looking for where it is most comfortable for them. And that is not always necessarily the deep water. In fact, more often than not, it can be in the shallows. If there's cover there, if there's dense reeds, if there's a lot of woodwork and snags, the fish will just get up underneath that. Maybe a dying weed bed. Old lily beds are good. Big old beds of pads that have kind of fallen in on themselves. Anywhere they can get in that's just half a degree warmer than anywhere else. And I want to find those fish. Now, I know that isn't always possible. A huge pit, a flooded river, for example. So you're looking for those kind of classic signs, you know. Go for the river and canal, for example. If there was 15 canal boats, but 2 of the boats people are living on, I want to be under those boats because that's where the warmth's coming out of the underside of that boat and the fish are going to be there. If I'm turning up at a gravel pit or a day ticket lake and there's one big area of rushes or a big fallen tree, immediately I'm drawn towards that as an angler. And if the water clarity is good enough, which in the winter a lot of the time it improves, I'm looking for fish. You know, people are always like, I need my Polaroids in the summer to go spotting fish.
You need them in the winter.
I need them in the winter, bro. Just as much, Hassan. Just as, if not more so important.
And also, I don't know, I mean, not like your sort of nighttime hours obviously increase during winter, but activity-wise, you can see them show throughout the course of the night. They tend to put on a bit more of a display.
Of course, mate. Of course, you've got the shows, and even in the night, you know, I know it's something I've documented and shown quite a lot. Just using a bright head torch or a lamp and going around and looking for them. I fished last week and the week before, and just short sessions, really short sessions. And in both of those instances, I didn't get a rod or anything out of the motor until I'd gone and tried to track those fish down. And sometimes that can take hours, and sometimes you might fail. But there's nothing more rewarding, especially when it's cold, you know, of just stumbling across a gold mine, gold mine. And that could be like a dozen fish sort of underneath some snags or in some rushes and stuff. And once you've located them then, there's no doubt in my mind that, they might disappear in an hour. As long as I'm quiet and stealthy, you can get, those fish are there, you know. And
they're happy.
They're happy, mate. They chose to be there.
Exactly.
They wanted to be there because it's a little bit more comfortable. As an angler, I'm just going to try and give them something a little bit irresistible, you know, to turn their senses on, so to speak, to drop down and potentially stick a hook bait in their mouth.
So let's talk about that. So you've located them. You found a little honey hole. They're all gathered up. They're happy. Not necessarily moving, but they're there. What do you go in with as your go-to bait approach?
So going back to my failures in years gone by, the biggest issue I used to have was not understanding fully how little they need to eat at this time of the year. So don't get me wrong, I wasn't piling it in, stoving it in, but I was overbaiting. You know, I was putting far too much in, and now if it really depends on an individual situation and venue, the number of fish present, what is the water temperature, how, just observing the fish, you know, are they just completely lethargic and not moving, or are they having a little mooch around that snag and stuff? So you kind of need to observe those fish. And best case scenario, I might put a little tiny bit of bait down, so a little bit of breadcrumb, maybe some maggots, some flake citrus boilies, maybe some sweet corn, but really we're talking about a tiny amount in my hand. We're not talking about handfuls here, just a tiny amount. And you know, in any form of angling, if you can gain confidence of a meeting, then they're more likely to trip up on a rig.
Yeah.
Citrus exclusively. I've never fished a bait like it. It's just truly unique. Don't get me wrong, I will use it right through the year just as a single hook bait. It's a sweetie to me.
Yeah.
But coming into the cold water time, you know, it's got those 35, you know, incredible soluble ingredients, and it's just a sweetie. It's a lure, you know. It's very, very visual. Their sight isn't as good as it is in the warmer months and stuff, and they very, very quickly can hone in on it and stick it in their mouth. And that's all as an angler I'm asking for. I just need them to put that hook bait in their mouth. So it'd be a single pop-up or a single cultured hook bait. At best case scenario, maybe a very light scattering of food around
and that's it.
Yeah. Whereas in years gone by,
stowing it in.
Kind of, bro. That's lessons learned. We're learning all the time, you know. I can't stress it enough, though. There is no black or white.
No.
I.e., some deep lakes at the moment might be fishing incredibly well because they're 35, 40, 50 foot deep, you know, and down in those depths, the water's still relatively warm in comparison to the top layer. So that would fish really well at this time of the year. But going into sort of January and February when it becomes Baltic, then I'm looking for a shallow lake. And I can't sit here and give someone the absolute black and white answers, but definitely just be realistic about what you're going to achieve. Don't think you're going to go and empty St. John's or you're going to go to Kingfisher and have 340s. Maybe take a step back, make sure you enjoy yourself, shorten your session down, local park lake, day ticket with a pal, down the canal, go to the river, be realistic, endeavour to find them. Because if you're just chucking and chancing or you're going somewhere where you think might have form and that, you're probably going to be a lot of blanks.
Yeah, a lot of blanks.
And don't overfeed them. Give them something that's irresistible, a little sweetie. And I'm so confident that if I've adopted those two trains of thought there, they're being realistic, finding them, and then I put a citrus pop up there. I hate to say it 'cause it sounds arrogant, but
they're on
you
it.
Catch them. You simply catch them, mate.
It's reactionary, isn't it? There's something bright in their face, even if they're not moving. Like, it is just a sweetie, like you say. In terms of your notable cold water captures, like, have you had big hits? Have you had, like, what would you say, like, stand out for you thinking about cold water captures? Because you've had loads.
I have had a few, mate. I think a lot of that boils down to the perseverance.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I've gone 1 or 2 times through the cold weather.
No.
I'm out there every week trying, you know, at least trying. And I always work on the basis the harder you graft, the more effort you put in, you're going to get rewards along the way.
Sure.
It hasn't dropped to mental temperatures yet, but just last week, you know, I caught some nice fish.
Yeah.
It's cold. I was cold. I was well wrapped up. I went out of topography the week before. Again, it was cold, you know, and I had some really, really nice fish. And it just adopted those 2 first things. Be realistic about what I'm trying to achieve. So I'm not going to go and try and catch 10, 30 pounders. Just get some bites, you know.
Yeah.
Find them, found them, and then gave them some citrus. I think real notable ones would be, I did tip up in Austria once with very thick snow on the ground. A lot of this was down to the boys, you know. I kind of flew in, they collected me from the airport, and I didn't go out for hours and hours and hours searching with a head torch and that. So a lot of the credit can go to those lads. But between us, we all caught some really nice fish.
Yeah, I remember the photos.
Yeah, it was a mega one, 46 something, 47 pounds. And the reason that fished so well there, to the human eye, to us, mate, it was bad. It was really cold. We had a big wood burner going, a big homemade chili, but to the fish, because the lake was so deep, down in those depths, they were still actively feeding. The fish were still moving around, and we had it off, you know. To be fair, because we were all such pussies, we had to knock the session on the head. But I always look back on that with a little bit of regret that we didn't go for one more night. We could have squeezed one more night in, but as humans, we were on
too much.
Yeah, it was too much, bro.
Really?
You know, when it gets into your bones and everything's damp.
I don't think I've ever seen you anywhere near like that. Obviously, mate.
We were all broken, mate.
Yeah, that is cold.
Yeah, we were broken, so we had to leave the lake. I think the lake would have done us more bites personally.
Wow.
And then the same year or the year later, I went to, and this is a great example. I was in Belgium.
Yeah.
And I went to the perfect winter venue. You know, it was a uniform depth of about 1 metre, 1.20 meters. There was a handful of small snag bushes on there, and just lamped them. Just got there very late at night, walked around, bright head torch, and ended up catching a really, really nice mirror.
Yeah.
£86, something like that. That was the biggest in the county at the time, and single 12mm citrus pop.
That's epic, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, they're out there to be had, mate. A lot of it is about mindset. It's about motivation. It's about doing it with the right people, because there's nothing worse than long, cold winter nights all on your own.
Oh, yeah.
But
as you say, actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it? If you're active and you find them, you're always going to be a little bit more motivated to sort of, if you see them, mate,
I can't, like, even last week, like with the boys, I went out with Joe Morgan one day, I went out with the photography lads the week before, and it's so rewarding when you've walked for miles in the cold, and you then stumble across, like I say, that gold mine of carp. Oh man, it's like you're on a different, you're so buzzing. And then after that, you know, a lot of people listening to this, they're gonna know what, you know, sharp hook, utilize the lead, use a, you know, then it's kind of, that is the hard bit. You know, that is the hard bit. Finding them, and then I can't put a citrus pop up down there. They eat it. They eat it every time.
Don't make it any more complicated than it needs to be. Location is paramount. That's a feature to your angling, full stop, though, isn't it, mate? You do a lot in terms of looking and pre-bait.
I didn't used to, Hassan. No, I don't want to sit here. Nah, of course not. I was this like, nah, I don't want people to think like it's. I've had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I used to want to get in a going swim because that's the swim that does all the bites, and I'd use the going rig, and
everyone loves a dead cert.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And it's taken me, God, many years of honing things down, when fundamentally it was always bloody simple in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, find the fish, give them a good quality bait, give them a sharp hook, and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say I find fishing easy or carp fishing easy, because I don't. It's always a challenge, and you're always up against something, but it's a lot easier than it used to be. There's a lot less blanks.
Nice. Yeah. Out, you're a ledge. Everybody out there, if you're not doing any cold water carping, take this man's tips, get out there and catch yourself some.
Good luck.
Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. Our guest, none other, Mr. OD, Nash Hall of Famer, I'm going to call you, mate.
Really?
Oli, welcome.
Thanks for having me, mate.
No, not at all. Thank you for coming. How are you, mate? How you been?
I'm really good, actually.
Yeah?
Really good, yeah.
What have you been up to?
Just come back from a day's grayling fishing yesterday, actually. So, yeah, that was, I've got the grailing buzz. Yeah.
I saw that on the Insta, mate.
Yeah, no, it was a really good day out. Yeah, caught a few. No whackers, but yeah, just a nice day, you know. And it was actually a nice day. The sun was out.
Yeah.
You know, it was cold, but a good day to be outdoors.
Grayling as well, mate. What a fish.
Yeah.
They're beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah, they are beautiful. I like a couple of times a year to go and have a little go for something a bit different.
Yeah. But you are, that's the theme of you. You are, I mean, you are a carp angler, but you're an all-rounder, mate. You do everything.
I'm an angler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like to be called a carp angler. It's certainly not a big carp angler. Just go fishing.
He's so chill, carpy and modest. I like it, mate. Those of you that haven't seen it, you've done a podcast before with Alf and Dan, didn't you?
How long ago was that now? Must be even a couple. Well, it was when the podcast first started, I guess. So
I think it was pre the final Eurobanx coming out. So I'm guessing it was probably
it'd be about a year and a half.
Yeah,
ago,
year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Getting on for 2 years ago, mate.
Where does the time go, man?
It flies.
I mean, this year has really flown, hasn't it? Probably for everybody, but
this year, I mean, what has happened, mate? We haven't had a year, have we? I don't know. It's just gone that quick.
Crazy.
Man.
Crazy year.
Let's start, probably not in a typical place, but in terms of yourself within Nash Tackle, you've had a bit of a change in role, mate, haven't you?
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I don't think many people really know about this. I haven't really spoken about it, but yeah, just sort of taking a little step back from the filming. There's a great team at Nash, you know, led by Dan, and they've sort of picked up the mantle, and I'm doing a little bit more fishing, dare I say, taking a little step back, which for the first time in my 43 years or something, I've actually had a bit more time to go fishing. So
nice.
Yeah. I'm enjoying it, man, loving it.
How did that all come about then? Because obviously your photography, but generally your contribution media-wise was big, Eurobanx, etc. You're a massive part of the team, and now your role defined as, what is it defined as, mate?
I don't know what it is now. I guess I'm in more of an influencer role. I mean, nice. It sort of makes me cringe even saying that, because it's it's a really weird thing, isn't it? Influencer. It's not. Is it a real job? I don't think so. Yeah, I was supposed to be doing loads this year, but COVID is just absolutely, like, it's knocked everything on the head. We should have been doing shows and shop days and filming trips, and a lot of that's just had to be canned, you know, because of the situation. So this year's been a bit of an odd one. I've done more fishing this year than I've ever done in my life. Like, I really have, and you know, that's been great. Yeah. Yeah. Who would complain about going fishing more? But
it is a change, isn't it, mate? Was that prompted by yourself, or
a little bit? Yeah, it was a little bit. I think I just got to the stage like, it's a bit of a young man's game, and I'm getting on a little bit now. Like, yeah, well, I know it don't look like it, you know. That's
so fresh faced, mate.
Yeah,
good living. You're so happy.
Good living, yeah. Staying up all night and not sleeping much. Yeah.
Get on it. Forget the fountain of youth, mate. You've got it.
Yeah. So, yeah, a little bit more fishing, hopefully. Nice filming trips that we had planned, unfortunately got canned this year. Yeah. We'll see what 2021 brings. Hopefully, you know, we'll get back to a little bit more normality.
It's got to be a good year, mate, because this year has been, as you say, on the whole, pretty pants, apart from the silver lining, which is a bit more fishing.
A bit more fishing, that's been great, yeah.
Nice.
Can't complain. But yeah, I guess I've been working in the industry now for 13 odd years, and yeah, I don't know, I need a little bit of a break. Like, I've worked my entire adult life, you know, since I was 16, I left school, and haven't ever not worked.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not working now, but like, it's a different kind of, it's a bit more, you know, a little bit more laid back.
Yeah.
Which is good, you know.
Yeah, you've got, it's a bit more self-led, isn't it, mate? It's nice, mate. Sounds like a good role. Let's talk about, we've got to really address Eurobanx, mate. So I think the last podcast, go back and watch it if you haven't, you talked about, well, you didn't really allude to what happened in the last Eurobanx, but obviously as a concept, as a series, it's all over, mate. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it just run its course. You know, it's funny, like, it might even be longer than that. 3 or so years ago, Howard said, right, I want to do 5 and 6. You know, I've got plans for them, but then I want to stop it. And at the time, I was like, why are you canning something so successful? But actually, it makes total sense to me now. You know, if you look at any of the most loved series, you know, your likes of your 40 Towers and, for my generation, Father Ted, you know, they all had a limited run.
The In-Betweeners.
They all came to an end. Yeah, the In-Betweeners. Yeah.
Classic.
Well, that's more your era, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to be young, mate.
Podcast wankers.
Yeah.
So no, it just run its course. You know, how many times can you jump in a van and travel around Europe? Well, we probably could have done it indefinitely, but how long before it would just got too samey and too, you know, don't get me wrong, there was loads of fishing we could have still gone and done. Europe's like, there's so much, there's 5, 10 lifetimes of fishing out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was just time for something new. And it wasn't ever going to be the end of Alan and I fishing together. It's just that particular vehicle had come to the end of its road. So yeah. And we had some great plans for this year, which, like I just mentioned, have just gone down the pan. So yeah.
Roll on 2021, mate.
Yeah. I mean, and, you know, and we get loads of comments about, can't believe that you've canned it, but I think it was the right decision.
Yeah?
I think it was the right decision, yeah.
You happy?
Yeah. How many times can you keep going and doing the same thing?
I get that, but I also get that even if you did do the same thing from an audience perspective, you could churn them out. Horrible way to put it.
No, but do you know what? That is the perfect analogy, churn them out. I don't want to just churn them out.
Yeah.
Alan definitely didn't want to churn them out. It's something that each one we've always had the ambition to make it bigger and better than the one before.
Yeah.
And, you know, there comes a point, you know, the party at the end of last year at Banks, we weren't ever going to beat that. We weren't.
It looked mental.
It was epic.
Yeah.
It was epic, yeah.
You boys like a party as well.
Love a party. You know, you work hard, you play hard. That's the way it is, you know. That comes from Alan. That comes from Kev from the very top, you know.
Yeah.
And those guys, they're the hardest grafters that I know, those two, you know, early risers, always on it.
Yeah.
But the same goes for the partying. So,
yeah,
we love a party.
I'm waiting for my first Nash party initiation, mate. But obviously, COVID's curtailed that.
Such a shame,
mate.
Such a shame. Yeah, we'll make up for it next year. Yeah.
That the last fish that you caught back here on Kev's special secondary, third, whatever lake it is.
We call it the New Lake, didn't we?
New Lake.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
The dinosaur. What a fish, mate!
Mega one, wasn't it?
Talk me through that capture.
That was a really funny one, actually. So the sort of the fishing on the let's get this right. The New Lake ain't a fishing lake. You know, when the fish were moved out of the copse into the New Lake and they were not fished for, So for Alan and I to be allowed by Kev to have a little go on it was like it was about the most exciting bit of the trip. It's bizarre, isn't it? You travel around Europe and you're looking forward to fishing in Kev's garden on the way. But, you know, like the fishing there are incredible.
Yeah.
Al had sort of, you know, he had his plan. He knew his spots. He'd done a little bit of homework before. And so we rocked up that evening. He's like, right, I'm fishing here. Yeah. You can have the rest of it, which actually didn't leave me that much because most of the spots were on one side of the lake. Yeah. Anyway, it was a typical Eurobanx arrival after dark, you know, as we usually do. I even treated myself to 3 new rigs for that as well.
3 new rigs?
3 new rigs, which anybody that knows me, that is, that's quite unusual, went out with in a little boat with a torch, found a couple of clear spots, load of multi-rig and a little handful of bait on. And it was actually me that got the first 2 bites. First one was the dinosaur, and we'd sort of come to an arrangement that we'd have the first take on our own rods, and then to make sure that both of us caught one, the second take, if it came on the same rods, the other person would have it.
Yeah.
I also had the second take, which unfortunately, like Al lost, it fell off when he was out in the boat. Thankfully, he got another chance on his own rods, like at first light, and it made, you know, it was perfect timing with the kids there.
Exactly, it was nice.
Yeah. But
that fish was incredible, though, mate.
I couldn't have chosen a better one to catch, could I?
No.
I mean, that old dinosaur, you know, it's an ancient fish, probably 50 years old, old broad oak fish. And, yeah, I literally couldn't have picked a better one to catch. Just a touch. A lot of people have asked the weight because we never said the weight. It was just a touch under £50 for those that care, 49.12, I think. But it didn't matter.
Just had everything, didn't it?
Didn't matter, yeah. In terms of, like, the things that you look for in a carp.
Yeah.
You know, age, the mouth, the fins, the character, the scales, the shape of the tail, everything, you know, it had everything. Amazing carp, yeah.
Scrap around, or was it pretty?
No, do you know what? When I hooked it, the new lake was so weedy, we decided to fish it from one spot by the house, you know, which meant that if we hooked one, you really had to jump in the boat. So I was straight out in the boat, and all the time it felt like a small one. Felt like a really small one, just head nodding. Which, when you see the shape of it, you can kind of see why. And it actually didn't weed me. I got out over the top of it.
It didn't weed you up?
Didn't weed me, no. It just chugged around in a circle. And by the time I got over it, it was pretty much played out, you know, and it popped up underneath me. And I was like, Jesus, that's a bit bigger than I thought. It wasn't long, but it was wide, you know, wide enough to stick a saddle on. And
incredible.
I say, just an incredible fish. Sadly, it actually died this year. I think I was the last person to catch it.
Yeah.
It's a shame it died in spawning. Ironically, it had actually died 2 years earlier as well.
Yeah.
Like, when I caught it, someone had said to Tom, who sort of is the keeper of the books, you know, the knowledge on the stocking of the lakes. He'd said, "No, he can't have caught the dinosaur. I threw it on the, you know, I buried it 2 years ago."
That's right.
Like,
Tommy's told me this.
And you know, even when Dan had showed him a picture, he was still like, "No, it can't be. It can't be." He swore that was the fish that he'd buried a couple of years ago. But yeah, so Phoenix from the Flames, it was still alive, but unfortunately
no longer.
It was so ancient, though. You know, it was so ancient.
It looks it, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I could, you know, you just, when you have something like that in your arms, you just know that that's something real special. Yeah. So it was the ultimate end. Ironically, you know, you travel 15 days across Europe, and it was the biggest fish of the trip for Alan and I, and maybe the best one, and we caught it in Kev's back garden.
Yeah, mega. Fairy tale ending, mate.
Fairy tale ending, yeah. We couldn't have written it.
Emotional?
Really emotional, actually. And ironically, you know, Alan had actually caught that fish when it was in the cop, so I felt no guilt about catching it myself, because for him it would have been a recapture, and it wouldn't have been quite as special.
Yeah, you don't want this, Al.
It
wouldn't.
No, he wouldn't have wanted it. Yeah, no, he wouldn't. You know, both of us are the same like that. You know, I would have definitely. Yeah. If it had been the shoe on the other foot, I would have wanted him to catch it more than anything. Yeah, for sure.
And a lovely party to round off.
And a mega party.
Yeah.
Crazy party.
Looking back over Eurobanx, what sticks out for you? What's like poignant? Because it's a massive... I mean, there's 6 of them, so there's a lot of period of time. There's also a lot of pressure on actually producing on those.
Of course, like I always used to say that was my hardest couple of weeks' work of the year, because I've got to film it. I also did most of the driving.
Yeah,
people know, because I like the driving. You know, where Alan and I worked out very quickly that that was the best way for it to be. I've lost my track now. Where was I?
No, we're just sort of reminiscing about, for you, Eurobanx, what sort of sticks
okay, yeah,
out,
sorry,
mate?
yeah. I think probably the people that you meet, you know, and the lasting friendships that we've made out of it.
Yeah.
And that party was actually made up of a lot of people that we'd met, and they'd actually sort of flown over specifically from the party from all over Europe, you know, and we've made lasting friendships out of it, you know, and that's for me is perhaps the most important thing, and maybe the bit that people miss about carp fishing as a whole is the social, not social, but the long-term social aspects of it, the lifelong friendships that you make, the lifelong relationships that you forge, you know, and that I could pick up the phone or go on Messenger now, 10 countries in Europe and rock up and be looked after, you know, like family. And the same, you know, whenever one of the lads comes over to the UK, we try and, you know, make the trip special.
Yeah.
Whether it's a bit of barbel fishing, grading fishing, carp fishing, whatever, you know, and try and pay back, you know, pay it back.
Yeah, I also think, like, just generally carp fishing, you spend time with people, and that forges such strong bonds because you're there, aren't you? You're connected, you're chatting, you're staying up late, you're doing whatever, but just the amount of time that you get with somebody, those friendships are everlasting.
I think that's kind of what makes Eurobanx special for a lot of people, with our and I's relationship.
Yeah.
Genuine friendship, which it is, you know, genuinely pleased for each other, genuinely gutted when the other one does, you know, loses one or whatever. It's very, very much a team effort.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I don't think a lot of people realise it's hard work fishing with Alan. It's hard work fishing with me as well. You know, we both have our foibles. He's mental.
You're both like 100 miles an hour, mate, just in different
he's
ways.
150.
Yeah,
if I'm 100, he's a bit faster than me. But and we cover both spectrums. He's an early morning person. I'm a late night owl. So it just kind of works. It kind of the chemistry was there for that.
Yeah.
For that. So yeah, and I sort of facilitated him to be able to fish how he wanted to fish. Yeah. Ironically, we don't really go fishing together much. Neither of us like fishing with the other one because we're too selfish. No, it's true. It's true. When you're fishing with someone else who's really on it, I'm getting it. I've been fishing up at the Woolpack for a month and fishing with Jim Shelley, and he's another. You don't want to share the lake with people like that. Like, not Jim in particular, but you know, just anyone who's on it.
Yeah,
that's your competition.
Makes life harder.
You're seeing the same thing. You're looking at the same areas. So, and it's the same with Al. You know, and he'll say exactly the same thing. He hates going fishing with me.
Yeah,
for that very reason, because he has to share.
It works so well, mate. They're a fantastic series of shows. What was your lowest point in amongst all that? Because it must be quite testing, mate.
Lowest point? Oh, mate, we've had the whole point about it is you get the highs and the lows, you know, and we've had some real low moments in terms of we're both exhausted and things ain't going to plan, and I don't know, what's the lowest moment? There's a few, but like, look, I guess it would probably have to be losing Alan on the ferry in terms of like from a personal point of view. I was really genuinely worried, you know, that he was going to be all right, and you know, I don't know. It's
totally.
Funny.
He left his phones and everything.
Yeah. And we were separated for like 3 or 4 hours, and which might not sound a lot, but when you've just arrived in a strange country, and you've left your mate, and he's got no phones, he's got no money, he's got no. You know,
you're thinking the worst, and he's disorientated, and you're tired. It's not the best.
It's just when you're on a tight schedule as well. That's the thing. You know, we were supposed to be meeting somebody and going on, and every time something like that puts your schedule back, it can mess up the whole week. So, yeah. But I guess that was the lowest, and at the same time, it was a high because when we were reunited, it was one of those. I said I told you so once, and that was it. But it's the same. Like, neither of us bear grudges. You know, that's just. And that's a strong friendship as well, you know. You learn to move on. You know, you have to move on.
Yeah. How much sort of planning went into it in terms of, obviously you've got your venues, you've got your contacts, but in terms of actually prepping for the task, a lot of it is quite, especially the last episode, it's quite flexible. You were going to go to Spain, you did a bit, and then you sort of flitted around a lot. So it's quite interchangeable in amongst.
Ironically, Hassan, it actually ain't that flexible.
Is it
you
not?
know, we have. I won't take any credit for any of the planning. And that's absolutely all Alan. It was all based on Alan's dream. You know, he'd have a dream of one particular venue, whether it be Skadar, Bled, Sweden, Haga, and the whole trip would be sort of based around that one particular venue, the journey to and the journey from.
Yeah.
And that's him, and you know, anybody who knows Alan knows that when he goes in hard. You know, so we would have a military kind of plan to stick to. Yeah. And actually, apart from our little deviation not going to Portugal last year, pretty much.
Portugal, yeah.
It's stayed pretty true to the plan, and it has to. You know, when you're travelling across that many countries, you can't just go, "Oh, I'm going to stay an extra night here," and because it just messes up. And these things are arranged. You know, there's other people involved. Might have taken time off work. They've got busy lives as well. So, you know, to a certain extent, we owe it to those people to make sure that we turn up on when we say we're going to turn up. You know,
yeah, to honour it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so
so yeah, it is planned, like seriously planned. It has to be. It has to be. So
any cross? There must be crosswords said, disagreements.
Very rarely.
Really?
Very rarely. I think you'll find the same with Al. Very rarely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember her. I mean, obviously, there's probably times when he's been pissed off with me, and there's times when I'm thinking, "Oh God, not again, Alan," you know. But it is just that. Like in terms of actual arguments and crosswords, I don't think Alan and I have ever had one.
Yeah, that's really good, mate.
I totally respect him. When you accept what someone's like, you know, you can't hold it against them when they stay true to their personality.
Yeah,
you know, like I think it's the classic thing, isn't it? So I think some women like expect you to be different to how you are when they meet you. You know, I think a lot of men will say that, like, but yeah, and it's not. No, you can't change. You know, you can't change how you are. You know, you are what you are.
It's warts and all.
Exactly, warts and all.
Yeah, nice, mate. Any particular places, things, aspirations that you wished you could have put into that sort of series, or are you happy with sort of everything collectively as a whole? Because you had some amazing trips and amazing results considering you're fishing on limited time.
Well,
really.
That is half of it. You know, you're just fishing for a bite.
I know.
Just fishing for a bite. You're rocking up on somewhere sometimes they're easy. Sometimes they're proper carp brothels, as Nick would call them. Sometimes they're like we did an overnight on Balaton, which is the biggest lake in Europe, which rocked up for an overnighter. Again, you know, you can't do it without the help of the people that, you know, your fixers that are there. But you know, there's also occasions where you turn up and people say, right, you have to fish like this, and you go, nah, that's not the way to do it, and you should actually show them that there's a better way, you know, and that's where we get the most credit when you rock up on their lake and catch one really quickly, and they're like, how did they do that?
Yeah.
But you know, it's just observational angling, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like a lot of my fishing these days is when you're on limited time, you ain't got time to mess about and play the long game. You've just got to fish for a bite. So ultimately, you know, there's a lot of places where we didn't catch the biggest one in the lake. You know, we just nicked a bite, but that was all we're there for. Catch a carp, move on. And that, you know, that's a lot of my angling now. Like I said to you earlier, I'm not a big fish angler. I'm just an angler.
Yeah.
I'm just interested in the bite. And,
you're a bloody good one though, mate.
I don't know about that.
Oh, mate, you catch them.
Just experience, like that's all it is. I've been lucky, you know, throughout the last, well, not even just my time in the industry. You know, I've met quite a lot of the good and the great anglers over the years. And if you fish with people like that, you can't help but learn. Now, I wouldn't say that I'm naturally a great instinctive angler, but if you fish with people like that and you don't learn from your mistakes and for what they teach you, then you're doing something wrong. So
yeah, it's like anything, isn't it? If you mix, regardless of what you're doing, if you mix with people that operate at the very top level, it only is going to bring you on.
Like the venues that you fish as well. You know, if you fish a challenging venue, and the standard of angler is obviously going to be slightly higher, you will improve your angling. Yeah. If you stick to something easy that you know, you're never ever going to progress. You have to challenge yourself, and that goes for anything in life. You know, not just fishing.
Too right. Yeah, sound. I've got to say it's everybody's favourite, but that Bled trip, mate.
We'll never. Do you know what? That was a proper thorn in our side. You know, the fact that we had such a good trip, and we spent 3 days at Bled. Like people ask me questions like I'm some sort of expert. But it wasn't even 3 days. It was like 2.5 days, and we were really lucky. Between us to catch, I think we had 33 fish between us in those 3 days. And to put that into context, I think there were only another 2 or 3 fish caught around the whole lake in that time.
No way.
Yeah. It was like, it wasn't like trawling. You know, we spoke to all the other anglers fishing. There was a 20 kilo out to a couple of Italians, and a German kid had one. But like, you know, we had 14 in 4 hours on that evening. Yeah. So we were lucky, you know, that kind of observational, reactive angling at that time. At the end of July in the summer, it worked. It just worked for us. So other times of year, Bled's completely different. It's a bait and weight water. Yeah. And you're fishing in deep water, often 12 metres. Totally different. But at that particular time, it worked.
Mate, it was incredible. I remember seeing you catching fish out that bed of lilies, like people coming by outside a casino, and then obviously Alan, just having an absolute tear up. It was ridiculous, mate. But again, sometimes the stars align, don't they?
Yeah, and that was the case on that trip. You know, it was just a question of good timing. And you know, our good friend Gasper, he threw us a bone on the last day. He said, you know, when that thunderstorm rolled in, he said, you should go and check over there. And that was where Alan found the fish. And
he catches some, doesn't he, mate?
Gasper, yeah, boy, he's a proper machine.
Yeah.
But a really, really top guy as well. Really top guy.
Yeah. So many contacts,
yeah, he's another one who, like I say, it's a funny story. I won't tell the whole story on the podcast, but when we first met him, he was actually poaching in the garden. You know, he lives in the area, and I could see this guy fishing down the bottom. I was like, sure, that's our bit of garden there. He shouldn't be there. So I went down to have a word on that, and we ended up chatting. And he's become a firm friend over the years. And a top angler, like King of Bled, I call him. Yeah, I don't know if any of you follow him on Instagram. Yeah. If you should follow him on Instagram, but he's been absolutely caning it these last few weeks.
Incredible. Yeah. Some guesting in the garden.
Yeah.
Some great guesting. He is a great angler. Top angler in there.
Yeah, big up Regi.
Yeah. Any venue you wish you went to?
Oh, I'm sure there's loads. There's thousands of venues in there. Where would I wish we'd went to? There's venues that we blanked at that I wish that we'd caught from.
Yeah.
Certainly, like the one that Al lost in Switzerland this year. It's very likely a really big Swiss carp, and it's hard to get across to people that we've rocked up on this. I think it's about 80-acre gravel pit, low stock gravel pit, and to get a bite, and to lose it, it's wounding. It's really wounding. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's venues that because you know I'm going to get around to them. Yeah. There's plenty of fishing to be done still. Yeah. But in terms of on the trip, there are a few where I wish that we'd maybe caught from. You can't win them all, but we have a good go.
Have you got a standout capture in Europe, mate, for you, or a standout venue of all that you went to?
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I mean, those two commons from the pads in Bled, that was a good one. That only came about because I had a couple of rods set up with pink citrus pop-ups already on them, and while Al messed about, fanning about making bait mixes and tying new rigs, I literally popped them out, flicked them out there, and within 5 minutes I had 2 fish. You know, maybe that's one of my biggest advantages over him, is that he might be a million miles an hour, but it don't have to take him a long time to get the rods out. Yeah, it really does. You know, like new rigs, new baits, blah blah blah.
That's not you.
Wasting time, mate. Wasting time. Yeah.
Nice. Those two commons. Yeah. That was it. The Swedish pine forest lake. What was it called?
Oh, Haga as well. Yeah, mate. Catching that big fully from Haga.
Was mega.
Yeah, absolutely. That was definitely a standout moment, and perhaps one of the venues which I would love to return to at some point. Because again, we were there for 16 hours or something. No. Like people don't really see that when you rock up for 16 hours. I think the general consensus from Jonas, the owner, and Gary Benny, who was sort of looking after us, was that if we nicked a bite, we would have done really well. Yeah. So to catch that many between us, I think we had 6 bites in 16 hours.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Brilliant, mate.
So we done okay.
Do you think, and this is my final bit on Eurobanx for you, mate, because I'd imagine you've had a lot of questions, comments, and everything else about it because it is so mega. Do you think there'll ever be a day where you do, I'm not going to say coming out of retirement, but a little reunion maybe?
Don't want to say much really, but like Al's always said, wouldn't it be nice if one day, no marketing, no nothing, we just dropped Eurobanx 7. Yeah. Like, you know, you give them a link and it's there on YouTube.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? That's cool, mate. Let's concentrate on your angling. So, what I know, obviously, with regards to your career, advanced carp.
I like the way you call it a career.
Well, you have had
I guess it is, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Advanced carp. Were you an editorial assistant?
Basically, that came about through seeing an advert. Yeah, not being happy where I was, worked for the local council, had done for many years, you know, just treading water so I could go fishing at the weekend. Pretty much like everybody else out there, you know. I've been working in the industry probably 13 years now, but before that, I lived a very normal lifestyle. I did a bit of barbel fishing in the evenings when I could, and I'd fish Friday night, you know, I was a Friday night angler. Try and earn a few brownie points with the missus to get the odd trip in here and there. So I got a lucky break there. My mate Garth was working there, put in a good word for me. Never picked up a camera before, but I'm reasonably literate. You know, I got a B in English, one of the few GCSEs I did pass. And that stood me in good stead. And I learnt to use camera on the job. That was,
mate. That is self-taught, like...
Pretty well. I wouldn't say totally self-taught because, you know, I work with some really good people, some other really good photographers, the likes of Pat McInnish, John Bones, Rich Stewart. And, you know, like the angling, if you fish with good people, you can't help but learn off them. And I think that was the same for me.
Nice. So, obviously, at the point of getting that job in the industry, you were fishing Friday night, you said, when you got enough brownie points. Talk us through sort of when you got into the carp scene, if you like, or big carp, whatever you want to call it. Where was your first sort of venue that you pitched up on?
Big carp scene. I don't know. Well, I've never been a big carp angler. I guess I rocked up on the Kingsmead Horton Complex 20 years ago now, and that sort of changed my fishing quite a lot. Before then, fished lots of different places, but a lot of my angling life isn't really documented photographically, or you know, lots of people can pull up loads of pictures when they were young, but you know, we didn't really take pictures. Like, you know, a lot of my stuff just wasn't photographed. We'd rock up after dark, bray a couple of carp out, maybe where we weren't supposed to be fishing, and then disappear. It was done for fun. It was done for, and I think that's maybe one of the issues in the scene today, that people maybe can't do stuff without being seen to photograph it or to document it somehow. Part of me regrets not having some evidence or some memories, but the other part of me, I actually lived it. I just lived it. We just did it. It wasn't a case of like filming it to look at later on or filming it to show your mates, or you just did it.
It's the true essence. It's fishing, isn't it?
Fishing, you know, I think a lot of people would struggle to go fishing without a camera now. They struggle to go fishing without scales. I haven't owned a set of scales for over 10 years. I broke my Rubens. I don't. Like, quite often they get weighed, but they get weighed on someone else's if it's a fish of. But most of the time I don't weigh them. I'll say I had 2 40s off the top this year. Didn't weigh either of them. They were both 40-pounders, or you know, seasonal 40s. But for me, it doesn't matter. Big carp's a big carp, whatever it weighs. And I think, you know, last year we had a little competition in the office. We've done it for a few years now, where it's like a little bit of banter, catch report. The catch board thing, and in order to feel like I wasn't cheating the lads, I sort of had to weigh some of my fish. And I had a couple of 29-15s, which I wouldn't bother me in the slightest. But like, because I was losing points I was like, oh my god, this is really screwing my fishing up. I'm not enjoying it because I'm having to weigh them, and that carp meant less to me than it should have done. Shouldn't have made any difference the fact that it was an ounce under £30. You know, ancient old. One of them was a Craypool original, maybe 50 years old. And
wow!
You think, you know, this is ruining the essence of fishing. The reason why I go fishing, I'm not interested in weights. And I think anybody who follows, anyone who follows my social media accounts will see that I, if ever, very rarely put weights of fish down. Not interested. And most people don't ask the weight anymore. I mean, I said the weight of the dinosaur earlier on because I have had a few questions about that, but most people aren't bothered. The fact that you've got a beautiful carp and you take a lovely picture of it, you know, that's enough. That's enough. I don't try and hide how big they are. I'm not trying to claim that they're bigger than they are, because they're not. Because a lot of the times I'll put a picture of a beautiful double up. I'm not trying to claim that it's a 40-pounder or whatever, hold it out to the camera.
Yeah, of course.
Just a nice picture is the most important thing to me now.
Yeah, nice. So, Horton Kingsmead Complex, you started on it, you're fishing on it. How was it back when you started in terms of a fishery? It's a breeding ground as a complex for some, I mean, incredible anglers.
Well, anyone who's anyone is kind of anybody who is anybody has walked through that Horton Lodge door. It's true. You know, it used to be back in the day, it used to be a pit stop for the great and the good of the likes of Terry and Nick and Jim, and like anybody who was fishing in that area would inevitably at some point end up in the Horton Lodge. You know, I remember I got a very strong vision of Tell while he was campaigning for that one from the Lee Valley from the Relief Channel. Can't remember the name of it now. It was a 40-pounder. And I remember leaving him in the lodge one night, like looking through the window as I picked my barrow up, and he was there. He had his little pack, like almost like a laminated sheet of a cut with a picture of it, and he was just there staring at it. And I was like, I know he's going to catch it. It was inevitable. He's going to die, or he's going to catch it first. Like, But yes, like it was over the last sort of 20 years, it's been a really big part of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here, I'm still there now as a bailiff. And it has shaped my, it's massively shaped my angling.
Yeah.
Massively shaped my angling.
I mean, because there is, well, we fished it, didn't we, last year?
Yeah.
year
I dragged
before?
you around, didn't I?
Yeah,
A bit
boat,
of.
we were on the boat pool to start. We went to crayfish, didn't we? Did we go anywhere else? Oh, we went back to Raisbury.
Probably. Yeah, we
went a little tour for the day. But there's a different number of waters that comprise that complex. And they're different, in essence. So for you, when you came on there, initially, did you target one of the waters? Did you flit around?
Oh no! Like initially, back then, it was very, very different. They were all separate syndicates.
Right.
I think it was RMC angling back then.
Yeah.
It was run in a different way. Nowadays, it's all under one ticket. Yeah. But yeah, back then I arrived there to fish Kingsmead. That was it was like a group water back in those days. It had 3 30-pounders in it, I think.
Yeah.
It shows you how much things have changed because nowadays it's like, I think 5 50s, 20 odd 40s and 50 or 60 30-pounders, loads and loads of big fish. But back then it was different. Yeah.
How did you find the fishing on there?
Well, I've learnt a lot very quickly, having come from very different type of fishing. Like I learnt carp fishing for me was rocking up after dark, threading my line through the rings by moonlight, tying a hook on and lowering a bit of bread in the edge somewhere, and fishing from like that. Probably usually somewhere where we weren't supposed to be. Yeah. But yeah, so it was a lot more proper fishing.
Yeah.
Proper carp angling.
What prompted that step up then? Because obviously you're saying there, you've obviously started in that guise, and then you're going to sort of more of a, well, I wouldn't say legislated or kosher, but you know what I mean, a bit more of a sort of a structured.
Yeah, I don't know. You're just trying new stuff, isn't it? Trying a new venue. Yeah. And enjoyed it. Actually, I think I caught on my first trip. That was the thing. Second night I had one. I think it was a 19-pound common or something. I was like, oh my god, I can actually catch one out of here. Because back then it seemed enormous and challenging. And the fact that I'd actually caught one was quite a confidence boost. And actually that winter I ended up catching quite a few. There wasn't many other people fishing, but I was going up there, I was baiting a couple of times a week and dropping on. I fished through some of the worst weather. -10 I fished in that winter. Like where I was laying in my sleeping bag and your breath's falling back on your face as ice crystals and you think. And back then I think I had 2 sleeping bags and a crappy bed, and I don't understand how I managed to endure like that winter, but yeah, I did. I wouldn't fish like that now.
And what was it like? Tactically? Was it? Because I mean, it's horrible to say you're synonymous with it, but obviously the whole half a wrap stuff, which we'll talk about later, has sort of come to fruition. But were you always like that, or
no,
were you quite?
I was much more of a traditional carp angler, doing what carp anglers do, with a marker rod and a spod rod, and I did quite a lot of floater fishing back then. Still, I've always loved floater fishing, so that was maybe the one thing which was. I was maybe a little level above where I should have been, but everything else I wasn't. I was just an angler, just an angler. Yeah.
But obviously you've obviously got quite a natural ability, because if you've gone into a venue like that, you've caught on your first night, you're not necessarily had a great deal of time there to sort of adjust. You're straight in and you're straight catching.
I've never felt like I've had an ability at Hassan. It's always felt like I've watched other anglers fish, and I see some amazing anglers, some instinctive, natural anglers, and I've never felt that's been me. I've always worked hard at my fishing, and I think a lot of the captures have come as a result of hard work, not just knowing. Like I fish with Nick a lot, and Nick just knows, like he knows where to find them, he knows where to, and it's not a conscious thought process, it's just something maybe born of experience and a natural instinct, a natural hunting instinct. I'm a photographer. That's what I've always said. I enjoy it as much taking pictures of other people with their fish as I do catching them myself. For me, that's half the buzz. And I think it's why going fishing with people like Alan, it's always worked for me, because I'm not jealous. I've never been a jealous angler, but even more so when I get a buzz out of taking a nice picture of someone, I get my fix. I don't have to catch a carp to get a fix. So...
Do you ever feel any pressure with that? Because you're, I mean, I'm not just being overly, nice, but your photography, your Instagram following, the people within the industry that sort of respect, hold your photography in high regard. Do you ever feel, I don't know, do you ever feel like a bit of a burden with regards to having to take brilliant photographs all the time and try and keep that level?
When you set high standards, you obviously have to keep them, don't you?
Yeah.
Do I feel pressure? I mean, there's always a certain pressure to create content, you know, but not really. I think I've got to the point now where I'm confident enough in, if I look at it and I go, yeah, that's a good picture, or I like that, or I appreciate that. It might not be perfect, because very rarely do I look at a picture and go, that's perfect. There's always something that I would improve or change. But yeah, I think you get to the point where you have enough confidence, and that goes for fishing, or goes for anything that you're experienced in, like you in the podcast. You know, once you've done a few podcasts, you know which questions to ask. You know how, you know, whether it's going to be a good one or not. I don't really feel that pressure anymore. I know.
Nice.
I have done in the past. I think the worst one's weddings. Like Man and Fish is easy. Man and Fish is easy because there actually isn't that much pressure. The chances are that I'm gonna produce something like they've never had before. I don't mean like there's other great photographers out there, but most anglers don't really have one following them around and document. You know,
and that's your comfort zone as well, mate, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah, you know, when you're doing something which you're comfortable with and you're good at, then you know that life's fairly easy, isn't it? It's fairly straightforward. But do you actually improve and better yourself like that? No. Probably sometimes not. You need to challenge yourself, like again with the fishing, like I mentioned earlier. Step out of your comfort zone. Yeah. Do the odd wedding. There's no pressure like an expectant bride.
Wedding, mate.
Mind you, not that you can even do them now. Is anyone even getting married at the moment? I don't know.
I think you count it's like limited people, isn't it?
Yeah, so like I feel sorry for anyone in that industry now, because really tough times. Yeah, tough times. So I'm glad I didn't bail and become a wedding photographer.
That is pressure though, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And do you know what? Like I sort of looked at it in the past and could I do this? Could I do it for a living? And I looked through a lot of so-called wedding photographers' portfolios, and I think, God, you're shit. Really? How do people pay you that money for?
Because it is good money. I think my wedding, our photographer was like $1,500.
You did well then. That's cheap.
Oh no, we knew her.
Yeah. Well, there you go. She's done you a deal. But you know, when you actually look at the work involved, the cost of equipment, you know, a wedding isn't just a day. No. It's not just a day. It's a couple of days editing. Any photographer worth their salt will do a bit of homework first. They'll go and see the people. You know, you've got to tender for the job in the first place. So it might end up taking 5 or 6 days of your life. So it's not just like one day, which people seem to think, you know, it's exorbitantly expensive. There's lots of other costs to factor in terms of a business. So
imagine Oli Davies wedding photographer, mate. Could have happened.
Done one or two, but like, no, I don't really enjoy it. I enjoy Man and Fish much more.
Yeah. I think, I wouldn't want to take a photo for you.
I feel sorry for anybody that has to. Poor old Curly, he's had it a couple of times lately.
You said on the last one, he wasn't happy with some photos he took for you. Your PB.
It was a nightmare. Do you know what? It was a nightmare getting pictures off him. Like we went on a trip recently, and do you know, it was a year to the day actually that I'd caught that 50-pounder, and he did pictures for me. Wow. A year to the day for Curly Luck. 5th of November it was, and I caught the biggest common in the lake and the biggest mirror as well.
Yeah.
Pictures weren't great, and but it wasn't necessarily Curly's fault. It was a terrible morning for it. Really misty. Everything was misting up, and you're trying to bang shots off by taking cameras apart and cleaning lenses. Ultimately, they weren't the best shots, but I really felt for Curly, because I know he really keenly felt the pressure of having to take pictures for me.
Yeah,
and I am quite forward and curt. You know, if I don't like something, I'll tell you. If it's shit, I'll tell you it's shit. Yeah. Sorry, Hassan, if I've ever done it to you, but you know, like, we don't beat around the bush about these things. You know, I always want to know if I've not done a great job, so I can improve next time. But yeah, so I do feel for anybody who ever has to be my photographer. It's the worst pressure.
Not luckily, because I hope one day I do take a picture of a massive fish for you. You can sort the settings out, and I can just press the buttons. But I've done it for Lou Porter before, and he's like takes brilliant photographs. I'm very fortunate to have him out a lot of the time when I was fishing. So brilliant, and I was like, I'll do this. And you just think, oh God, if I mess this up, like, it is a burden.
I worked out really early that it's my curse a little bit. You know, it's my gift to be able to really stir people's emotions with
Yeah.
with the pictures that I take from, but it's also my curse that I very rarely get the same back myself. And I don't mean that in a bad way, you know. When I do, and it's not even just like good photographers. My mate Mark, who I've been fishing with a little bit this summer, he's not a photographer, he's a bricklayer. But he's taken me some epic pictures.
Yeah.
Like I've got to give him massive respect, you know, for just being my photographer. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fair play.
Lots of, you know, so anybody can take a great picture. Anybody can.
Yeah, nice.
With a bit of
Inspiring.
instruction.
Yeah. Back to Horton, Kingsmead, early days. Your fishing there, you said, was quite conventional carp fishing, in the sort of non-half a wrap sense of the word. How did your sort of catches progression on Kingsmead go? Because you caught pretty quick.
Well, I mean, it's being around good people and being influenced by the right people in your life. And one of those is Del, who was the old head bailiff of Horton, and his style of angling influenced me a lot over the years. You know, he was a really good margin and floater angler. He spent a lot of time looking, baiting, prepping. You know, and that I learned off him, you know, very quickly that you could catch fish really close. And actually, I ended up taking it sort of a step further, like really close. But yeah, it was probably his influence that was the strongest. And also being a Friday night angler, and also I should point out that I'm a bailiff on the complex, and I have been for a long time.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to be your traditional bailiff sat in the best swim. You know, for me that don't quite sit right when a bailiff's got their own swim, or beats the punters to the lake. You know, I don't want to sit in a swim which someone else wants to be in.
Right.
Because I've
taints it a bit.
A little bit, yeah. I'd rather give them the swim and go and find another opportunity. Because for me that, I don't know, it just don't sit right. So on the flip side, I like catching carp.
Yeah.
So there has to be some compromise somewhere, and that just shaped my style of angling a little bit more to pick up the opportunities that other people missed or chose to ignore, shall we say.
Yeah.
Those one bite situations, because let's face it, most anglers, they rock up for a weekend's fishing and they're not just want to catch one.
No, they want to hit.
They want to hit, and that's probably the biggest mistake that most people make as well, not fishing just for one carp at a time. They read the likes of your Tom Makers, 3 rods on a spot, bucket of bait, you know, and man, like Tom's an absolute carp fishing machine, but it doesn't work all the time like that style of fishing.
Yeah.
When it does work, it really works. You know, you catch enough for 6 months worth of fish. But yeah, for most anglers, it's not a realistic scenario to replicate.
No.
Whereas I think, you know, on limited funds and limited time, fishing one rod in the edge is a much more attractive and realistic proposition for people. You know, they can see themselves doing it, and it's exciting as well.
Yeah, definitely exciting.
So yeah, my angling is kind of born of the influence of Del, and maybe the need not to be that spoiler, that bailiff who's, you know, I wish I was in that swim, but he beat me to it, and that's not a bit of me.
Yeah, fair play. So when did you adopt that sort of quite mobile, in the edge style baiting, looking quite early, or did you take
Probably
a long time?
in the last
to get
15 years, I guess, but that sort of coincides well with a lot of barbel fishing, where you're fishing right under your feet, you're fishing one rod, you're often just fishing for one bite in a swim and then moving on, not fishing for a hit. So it's all symbiotic.
Yeah,
that style of fishing.
Nice.
Short session angling.
Yeah, too right. Captures wise, and obviously that first night you said you had that 19-pounder. What was your first sort of real standout big fish capture on Kingsmead?
I caught 2 of the 3 big ones that were in there.
Yeah,
Up Nose Common and the Denge. I actually lost the other one as well on a floater. That was my nemesis. That fish again. I didn't catch it before it died. I always thought I would, but didn't.
Complete the set.
Complete the set, yeah. But again, I don't think I've ever been a target angler. A bite's a bite for me, and if you catch a few, you're going to catch a big one. I wouldn't say I was a big fish angler, quite the opposite actually. I don't catch that many big carp. I catch a lot of small ones. Like this year I've had loads of small ones.
Yeah.
Loads. A couple of big ones along the way, but when I look at, I don't know, the likes of, say, Simon Kenny, for instance, like what he caught in a year on a church, 23 over 40 pounds, I think.
Yeah.
You know, some people just have a knack.
Yeah, for the big ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So, in terms of, obviously, Kingsmead, you talked about it earlier, you talked about learning, Del, people there. What characters were on at the time? Because when I look back, or I've spoken to people on podcasts and various high-profile anglers. They've all been in and around the complexes. Did you have any run-ins with any, not run-ins as in a negative way, but any sort of socials, gatherings, chats, whatever it may be, with anyone significant on there early days?
Oh, mate, like literally anybody who's anybody was on church. You know, I knew like Nick Hellier actually from outside fishing, but we met on church. Yeah, we just had mutual friends.
Okay.
But like we met there, and we've actually been friends for 20 odd years now, nearly 20 years.
Cool.
I fish with him quite a lot. He loves the pole, no matter what he says on other podcasts. Do you know what? I've had a few messages about that. It's quite funny.
Did you?
But I say, well, you know, we're still friends. We don't agree on everything, but we're still friends.
No. Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of fishing, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah.
He seems like a character. He's a character, though, isn't he?
Character,
mate?
yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, like really instinctive angler. Yeah, I don't know. You just get on, don't you? Try not to cause too much friction with people, and learn where you can, and just get on in life.
And everyone was quite chilled, hospitable, forthcoming on there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't really know how to answer that one.
Fair play, mate. So, talking about your style of angling that we've talked about before, obviously your influence, you're in the edge, you're baiting, etc. For you, rigs and bait, in terms of importance, in terms of tinkering, changing, are you quite fixed? Were you
I
always
reckon
quite
they make
fixed?
up 2% of the 100%.
2%?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. 95% is made up of location.
Yeah?
And, you know, I'm the least riggy person that you'll have in here. I'm the least riggy person. I use a couple of different rigs, and I use them because they're easy. They might not be the best rigs in the world all the time, but they're pretty reliable. Caught me plenty of carp. I'm not really interested. You know, I arrived on a new venue recently, about a month ago. You know, quite a tricky venue, and very well respected angler said to me, you know, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. You know, you've got to fish 2 bottom baits. Don't do this. And I went, okay, thanks. And I did it totally the opposite, because when you're confident in an approach, you just have to stick with it. Yeah. You know, okay, if I blanked in a year's time, then I might
switch. Yeah.
I might switch. But yeah, you've got to be confident, and things like rigs and that, I'm not interested. If I get on a carp, I know my rigs will work. Yeah. So when I hear people talking about these extra percentages of hook sharpening and this and that, and then they get the 95% wrong.
Yeah, it's a bigger.
And so, like, you're fishing at 5% efficiency. Well done. Well done. Missed the point. Like, you know, and that's to me, that's really important. Location, 100%. Yeah. So, like, went grading fishing yesterday. I did a night on a little day ticker fishery nearby. Okay. Didn't set up until I'd found carp. Yeah. And we didn't turn up until sort of 7, 8 o'clock. I went round and lamped the lake until I found one in the edge, and I caught one that night. You know, it wasn't because of rigs and baits, because I found it.
Yeah. So that's you 2% you're putting that down to. Yeah. So for you, rig wise, you said there you're confident in something, you're happy. What's your go-to?
I use multi-rig most of the time.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, there is a time in the summer after they spawned where pop-ups ain't the one. They just ain't. And I'll switch to use a bottom bait then. But I can see that. I can watch them mugging me off. I can watch them not or avoiding the hook bait. And then I know, just got to fish a bottom bait. It comes back at this time of year to pop-ups again. You know, I think when there's leaf litter on the bottom, it's a presentation issue. The fish is slowed down a little bit. Comes back to pop-ups. But for me, it's really simple. Is it a bottom bait or is it a pop-up? Yeah. And it's the same. You know, if I won't necessarily tweak my rig, I will just switch it from a pop-up bait to a bottom bait rig. Yeah. Because for me, that is the main thing. You know. The main point. A pop-up rig tends to be more efficient. You know, this is from observation, from watching them. If they pick it up, they usually hook themselves. A lot of the time they won't though. They'll nudge it, they'll touch it with their lips, they'll look at it and go, no. Whereas a bottom bait rig gets picked up loads and ejected loads. Yeah. I've not come up with one that's really more than 50% effective. Yeah. So
do you think
it's a numbers game?
Yeah, definitely. Do you think almost the most effective thing is to create a baiting situation where they're feeding in a way whereby, and it's so hard to tell because there's so many variables, but there's a way in which, like, you can have a pack of fish come in, feed in a certain way, get absolutely mugged off by all of them. Yet you can have another situation where one comes in and he's banged straight away.
There's no absolutes. Like I was stalking on Raisby South Lake a couple of years ago, and I caught one straight away. Like first fish that I'd got feeding, I hooked him straight away. Later on that day, I had a few fish feeding in the Finger Bay, and then 5 fish came in. And I've been fishing for stockies before, and these weren't stockies. The biggest one was maybe 38-pound, a big leathery mirror.
Some originals?
Some originals, yeah. A couple of big commons. And
nice.
One by one, each of them picked up my multi-rig or refused my multi-rig and disappeared. That was like a really bad day angling. And yet, I'd caught one immediately early on in the day. So there ain't no absolutes.
No.
There ain't no absolutes. Ironically, after the last one did me, I hooked a tench, came straight in, nailed itself. So, I don't know. People say to me, "Oh, if you hook tench, your rig's working well." That's bullshit, isn't it? Here's another thing. You know, like if you're hooking the tench, quite often the tench and the carp are feeding next to each other. The last thing I want to do is hook the tench that's feeding next to the carp. Yeah. So I want a rig that doesn't hook tench.
Yeah. Anti-tench rigs.
Anti-tench rig, yeah. If I don't catch a load of tench, it means I'm doing something right.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, result. So we talked about observations, which is obviously a massive part. What's some of the craziest things you've seen? Because obviously it's not just fish feeding on your bait, it's just how they behave with regards to rigs and just generally your observations over the years.
Oh, well, sometimes you'll get one that realises that there's something wrong, and that one will take it upon itself to be the cock blocker, should we call it. It will prevent the other fish from settling in the swim or feeding, or it will nudge them, or it will I've seen them like T-bone into the side of another one.
No way.
Like,
just shunt them out?
Shunt them out, yeah. They just, it's like almost like a social responsibility that a fish has to ensure that none of its mates get hooked. It's really bizarre, but I've seen it.
Yeah.
Seen it. Another one, you know, you can see where they've made you pop up. Like they know that there's something wrong there, and they won't feed within a foot, 2 foot.
I've seen that. It becomes marked, doesn't it?
Becomes marked, yeah. And sometimes just lowering it out and dropping it somewhere else will work, or switching it for a bottom bait, and you'll catch that same fish immediately. As soon as that suspicious object is out of the swim, changes their behaviour. So, yeah, I mean, but these are things that you don't see unless you're actually watching them.
That's what
and
I
there's
mean.
loads of people, there's loads of conventional carp fishing wisdom out there, which is totally made up. Totally made up, Hassan. People they've never even seen a fish pick their rig up, and they're telling you that this works and that works and why it works, and they're just making it up. And okay, you can use empirical data and statistical data, and you can build up a picture over a long term, but it's all just guesswork and postulation. You know, it's not
postulation.
That's a good word for this time of day, isn't it? Do you like that?
That's a strong word, mate.
But you know, it's true. It is true.
Yeah.
In order to really know and understand, you have to try and watch them feed.
But you think a lot of that postulation has been brought about by how the industry's boomed, marketing, and a commercial outcome for stuff with regards to rigs, components, etc.
Hey, look, everybody's looking for the next best thing. Carp fishing thrives on paranoia, creating paranoia amongst people that you could have a rig, you could have a sharper hook, you could have a more attractive bait. You know, we all fall for it. We all watch someone else catching and go, shit, I need to be using that bait, or I need to be using that rig. We all do it. I do it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, every situation is different. So you have to stick to your guns. And that's not... Every time I see something that I think will advance my angling, I will try and adopt that into my angling. You know, and the bushwhacker bait and pole is the prime example of that. It's something that's changed my fishing. But at the same time, I try not to be a fashion victim and led by fashion. You know, there are certain fundamentals that if you stick to in your fishing, you'll never go wrong.
Go, mate. Come on. What's your fundamentals?
Okay, so like location, 100%. Like, don't settle for. And this is something that I've said on previous podcasts, and like the amount of anglers that you watch walking around, and they're not looking for carp, they're looking for a swim. They're not looking for what's in front of them. They're looking at how they're going to set their bivvy up, whether they can cast out of it, where their rods and bank sticks are going to go.
Yeah.
You know, like things that actually are not important in the slightest as to whether you catch a carp or not. You know, so this is really important. Location, proper location, find the fish. Next, use a bait that works. And now, let's face it, carp eat their own poo.
Yeah.
So there are certain baits which are more attractive to them, but use a decent bait. Use a decent boilie, a decent flake boilie, a decent pellet, some good particle. Anything else, you know, there's loads of gimmicks that arrive in the carp fishing world. Yeah, they're just stick to the basics. Rigs, you know, I'm not a riggy person. Confidence is the most important thing. Put a rig out there that if you put it out there, you know that you're fishing. and that if you don't get a bite, it's because the carp aren't there,
Yes.
not because your rig didn't work. Now, there are occasions when your rig won't work, but don't lose too much sleep.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, there's so many variables. Which direction the fish approaches from, how many fish are there. You're like, there are a million different variables. So
I remember. I think for me, fundamentally, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. This is from fishing a variety of different waters, weedy waters, really deep silt, is presentation. Like you said, you need to know that you are presented when you are out, when you've put your rig out.
yes and no, because like what we said earlier,
Yeah.
about dropping from the spoon. Like I mentioned, like often I will drop from the spoon and I won't feel the lead down. I'll just drop it because I know that there's carp there, and I could be fishing over anything. And there are times when I'm not fishing. There are times,
Yeah.
But if I'd taken the time to find a presentable spot,
That fish wouldn't be there.
fish wouldn't be there. So it's a value judgment, and for me, location is more important.
Yeah.
Getting it. If you can see a fish bubbling or you can see it feeding on a spot, you don't need to feel what's there.
Just get on it.
Just get a rod on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
So
Fair
just
play.
keep it simple, Hassan.
Yeah.
Another one is look close. Like a lot of anglers, they're always looking to fish at range, and a lot of the time the fish are a lot closer than quiet corners in the edge. When I arrive at a new lake, I'm looking for the areas that other people don't fish, and a lot of the time that's not out in the middle; it's in the edge.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, that's your biggest advantage, really.
Do you find that, obviously, with regards to seasons, winter, autumn, do you find that edge fishing, the opportunities in the edge diminish?
Oh,
generally?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. They fizzle out. That's not to say that you can't catch them out the edge. I nearly stalked one on the 1st of January a couple of years ago.
Wow.
But yeah, I think you have to be realistic, and I'm a much better summer angler than I am a winter angler because I can find them. When you can't find them, it makes life a lot trickier.
Yeah,
a lot trickier.
Yeah.
I think every angler understands that. If you know that the fish are sitting in a perfect in an area, you can come up with a way of catching them. But if you don't know where they are, then
it's tough.
That's your tough bit. Yeah, that's your 95%.
Yeah,
that's your 95%. And I think most of the time, in the colder months when you don't catch, because you just weren't on them.
Yeah, totally.
And they won't necessarily move about as much. In the summer you can afford to wait for them to come to you.
Yeah, because they're active, they're moving around, they'll find
you. In
you.
the winter, when they're not active, you have to make sure. Sometimes you have to present a bait right in front of them, and if you don't, you're not going to catch one.
So winter for you, how does your approach vary?
I try not to camp in the winter.
Okay.
I do a lot of rocking up at midnight.
Yeah.
It's I call it, it's like married man's carp fishing. I spend the evening with the missus. We have some dinner. She sits down in front of the telly. She's quite an early sleeper. My missus is not normally in bed by about 11 o'clock, whereas I'm a night owl. So when she goes to bed, I go fishing.
That's nice. That dovetails well.
Well, I mean, it's not like full-time fishing, but you take advantage of those times. Like at this time of year, quite often bite time is in the early hours of the morning and at first light. I mean, a lot of the time of the year, that's bite time, but in the winter particularly. Yeah. So rather than spending 24 or 48 hours sat by the water's edge, I'd rather rock up at midnight, place a couple of traps, go to bed. If I've woken up and not caught one, it's not the end of the world. I've put myself in the position to catch one.
Yeah.
And I think that's half of it. Don't punish yourself. Don't make life too hard for yourself.
Yeah.
It's no fun sitting out there at this time of year. I mean, I went fishing yesterday and it was freezing, Hassan. It was proper freezing. I wouldn't have wanted to sat carp fishing. It was all right trotting a grading flow, but I wouldn't have wanted to sit by the lake all day.
No.
As much as I love carp fishing and I love catching carp, you've got to keep yourself keen and motivated. And in order to do that, sometimes that means like not going fishing at the wrong time. I'm in a lucky position now where I can afford to pick and choose a little bit more. Yeah. As a Friday night angler, you've got to go on Friday night, whether it's shit or not, haven't you?
Yeah.
So
that's your window of opportunity.
That's your window of opportunity.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So winter for you was a standard approach. Would you still keep bait going in, like you said before, on certain spots, or would you just rock up, look for fish activity, and fish it in that manner?
That's a value judgment, isn't it? I mean, baiting can still work in the winter, but you're certainly not looking to put the ones. Often it's just a case of keeping them feeding.
Yeah.
And if that's a handful a day or half a handful a day, then sometimes that's enough. I definitely cut the bait down. I don't rely on bait so much as I do in the summer. It's location, you know, you can influence their location in the
Yeah.
spring and the summer, but in the winter it's much more difficult.
Yeah.
You've got to actually go to them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's tougher. I mean, and actually, I mentioned the lamping earlier. You know, I bought myself a very bright head torch a couple of years ago because there are times when you rock up and it's the best way of finding them. When you've not got a lot of daylight, and when that daylight is pretty dull in the 4 hours where it is light, you don't have much opportunity of finding them. But if you rock up with a bright head torch after dark, it's much easier to find them.
We went to Chigborough, mate, with Dan and Alf. I think one of the first times I came up here, and that was, we rocked up in the dark, went round the back, got the lamp out, saw them, crossed to the far margin, job done. Do you know what I mean?
And it's really funny because, like, to a lot of anglers, a bright head torch is like,
yeah.
You know, there's some lakes have the rule shaded head torches only. You know, you can't even shine a light on the lake. And, you know, I kind of get it. I do get it. The last thing you want is for someone to turn up opposite you and blast the back of your retinas with a million candle watt torch. But on the flip side, if you've got the place yourself, it's a really, really valid method of doing it. And indeed, the one that I caught 2 nights ago, if I hadn't lamped it, probably wouldn't have fished where I fished.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't have caught one.
Yeah, result.
So, yeah, it is important.
Nice.
The baiting thing, I always fish for a bite, really. So that doesn't change that much in the winter. I think when I load the spoon up, every time I load the spoon up, my one thought in my mind is how much bait do I need to get a bite in this situation. And I think that's where a lot of people go a little bit wrong. They put too much in.
It's so tempting though, isn't it?
It's easy to put too much in, really easy. And I'm guilty of it myself. Yeah. But I remember we fished bluebell a couple of seasons ago, and I used the pole to position a rig just under a little stick. I mean, I could maybe have cast it there, but there were fish about, and I didn't want to spook them. I put 3 grains of hemp and half a tail chewed tiger before he chewed them. But like, you know, just literally because that was how much bait it was going to take to get a bite, and I did get a bite from that fish. So in other situations, you might want to fill the spoon up to the brim. But yeah,
but that's the call, isn't it?
That's the call, yeah. And I can't make that call for you.
We need to talk about we've sort of fast forwarded time, but we will go back. The baiting pole bushwhacker revolution.
People are probably sick of it and sick of me hearing about it.
I fished with you less than a year ago on boat pool, mate. Everyone's got a bushwhacker baiting pole now. What I was absolutely astounded at is that when we were sending the pole out, ordinarily you'd cast, and obviously the boat pool fish, we've seen it a million times, as soon as a leg goes in, they're off. You were shipping it out and they were boshing next to it, mate.
Yeah.
That did my head, because I'd think anything going over their head, but they just don't see it. They weren't used to it, were they, mate?
Do you know what? Anywhere where there's a lot of waterfowl and also deeper lakes as well, it doesn't seem to bother them that much. There is another lake like that Croft Pool that I fished in Oxford this year. Yeah. They don't like the pole at all. Couldn't drop it on feeding fish. No, because there's no bird life on there.
Yeah, so it's alien
to them. Yeah, they didn't like it at all. And yet on Horton and Kingsmead, I've had 4 bites this year where I haven't closed the bail on, where I'm shipping the pole back and I look down and the line's spinning off the spool.
That's mad, isn't it?
Or I've had them feeding underneath the pole, like in shallow water, where I'm just waiting there to drop a rig on their heads, and they won't disappear. They're like looking up at the pole, but they're still feeding. So yeah, there's something about that noise of that lead hitting the water. I think a lot of solid bag anglers say the same. You know, they get quick bites on solid bag because it isn't the sound of a lead hitting the water.
Yeah,
that solid bag makes a totally different noise.
Yeah.
I see it loads, man, when I'm fishing in the margins and someone might cast 20, 30 yards away from where I'm fishing, but the noise of that lead hitting the water will disturb the fish.
Really?
Feeding, yeah. You know, hey, look, we've got to get lead out of there somehow. Yeah. I'm not saying don't cast, but at the same time, there's a very good reason why that pole is so successful. Yeah. And people say, oh, why don't you use a bait boat? Well, first of all, like on Horton, for instance, you can't use bait boats. Yeah. So, but second of all, it's much more stealthy. Boats are noisy. You know, I don't know if you realise quite how noisy they are, but the noise of the doors opening is a massive noise, and they're noisy. The engine's noisy, and most of them have got echo sounders on these days. And some carp don't like being pinged with an echo sounder. Yeah. I wouldn't. You know, it goes right through you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, the pole has advantages for various different reasons.
Yeah.
Over a boat.
Definitely, mate. And as you're saying there, like sound transmits so much free water.
I can't say enough. Like, you know, I have this constant argument with people. There were, again, 2 times this year where I've been stalking in the edge. Someone's rocked up nearby, set up a bivvy, smashed their pegs in one case with a club hammer. Now, there's nowhere on the lake where you can't push them in with your feet. There is no reason to take a club hammer. A club hammer, yeah. Before they've done anything else. And I had 8 fish feeding in front of me there, and it wasn't even on the same lake. It was 50 yards away somewhere else. But the noise of that hammer had shifted them up. So when people go, oh, you know, it doesn't disturb the fish, and it does, but it's not just a case of the fishing for you. You've got to think about other people. Yeah. Somewhere around that lake, there might be some fish feeding over someone, but the act of you making that noise. Now, there's different types of noise. People go, oh, the pole, clunking the pole thing. No, doing that doesn't send massive vibrations through the ground and the water, which, for instance, hitting a peg with a club hammer does, you know, and that disturbs them. They feel it. They feel the vibration. So I don't really want to sound like proper anti-mallet, but what I am anti is not thinking about other people and not considering them and their fishing with your fishing. Yeah. You know, and there are times when you have to be selfish. There are times when you have to cast out. There are times when you need to bang a peg in, but there's a lot of times when you don't need to. Yeah. You know, and just think of that. Anyway, I don't want to have a rant about it because it's
but it's a valid point.
It is a point that I've had a few discussions about, and some people just don't get it. They don't get it. They're okay. For instance, you have bite time on a lake at a certain time. Yeah. The last thing you want is for someone to be spodding and around that lake. So quite often on those lakes where there's a well-known bite time, all the members will hold off recasting or hold off spodding until that bite time's passed. Yeah. So it's a similar situation. It's just realising that what you do affects other anglers. Yeah. Same with the floater fishing this year. This year was a terrible year for floater fishing. Yeah. I had a couple of 40-pounders off the top, but it was a bad year because the seagulls were so bad. Yeah. And at the end of the summer, I had to consider putting mixers out. So say there's a shoal of fish in a bay and there's a couple of other anglers fishing that bay. If I put mixers out and the seagulls come down and disturb them fish, they could disappear from that bay. It's not just my fishing I've got to think about. Yeah. It's the other 2 people that are already set up in there. Yeah. I could ruin their session as well. Totally. It's a fine line. You know, there's times when you've got to be selfish and you've got to be single-minded, but there's also a lot of times where, you know, you have to realise that you're sharing the venue with other people. So, yeah, it's about being considerate, isn't it, a little bit?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I completely take that point. It's that call, obviously, if the opportunity's there. Sometimes temptation can be pretty hard, but as you say, you've got to have that empathy for everybody else because it will be you in the other situation.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. You know, it works both ways.
Yeah, mate. Back to the baiting pole in terms of your use of it, I was quite surprised. I think my first perception of it was like real quite short range, in the edge, job done. But you were sending it out like, what's the furthest you've had a baiting pole out, mate?
I used it last week at 75 metres. I didn't catch one at that, but the furthest that I know, the furthest that I've caught from is 33 sections, which is like 50 metres.
That's mad.
I'd rather not fish that far.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. Like, there's other mates baiting pole out there, and when people go, "Oh, so I've got a baiting pole. I've got so and so baiting pole," and I sort of like laugh and shake my head a little bit, and I say I feel sorry for you because you're limited to 12 metres, and there's not much you can reach with 12 metres. Yeah. But like on the boat pool, for instance, Hassan, like I mean, we fished that day, and you did catch a bream that day, didn't you?
Big old Barney.
I fished the following week. I had a 30-pound mirror doing exactly the same thing. You know, it doesn't work every time, but like you know, and that's just poling out to where they were bubbling, about 45 metres out in the middle, and dropping a rig on them. Yeah. And that's something that's worked really well for me this year.
Yeah, it is definitely an edge. And what is testament to it is obviously it's a clever bit of work from Nash there, letting you fish more. But everybody on the lake that I saw had some semblance of sections and bushwhacker pole.
They do now. But you know, you can't ignore it. Not just me. Like my mate Tell, one of the other bailiffs, he's at one point the church lake had done 4 50-pound captures, and he'd caught all 4 of them. Wow! With the baiting pole, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, it's you can't ignore it.
No, you
when
can't.
Other people are around you, and like I've said to people, it's not the fact that you get more bites; it's just how quick you get them a lot of the time. Yeah, because you're not disturbing them.
Yeah, totally.
On my 24-hour session for Nash, every bite come within 15 minutes of putting the rig out, which is a crazy scenario to think that once your rig's been out for longer than 15 minutes, you want to reel it in and re-drop it because something's wrong. Yeah. Like
I remember that first take. You had was it an aborted take on the first part
on the
of
church lake. Yeah,
and I was like,
within 2 minutes,
literally, like you barely got it back in
because that was a big one. I'm sure it was a big one.
Yeah,
It would have been there was loads of big ones feeding there, and quite often what happens if you spook or catch the biggest or one of the big ones, it spooks a whole lot of them because their big golden leader has been taken from them.
Gone.
He's gone. Yeah, well, we better go too. And in that situation, that was the case. You know, I messed up there. Shit rig.
You don't care about rigs though, realistically.
Yeah, but you know, you can't win them all. Sometimes they get away with it.
Though, innit?
I think, you know, in hindsight, I was fishing quite heavy lead, and the lead obviously dropped on the take, and the fish shook the hook. If I'd been fishing a 2-ounce lead, the hook might have stayed in. Sometimes it's not a rig thing. It's a bit more complicated than that.
With regards to the baiting pole, we talked about obviously its effectiveness, but where do you stand? I think I might be harking back to comments maybe from Mr. Hellier on another podcast, but where do you stand in terms of embracing technology edges and where you personally draw the line on stuff, mate?
Fishing is a lot of things to a lot of men, isn't it?
Yeah.
And who am I to judge what makes another person tick? You know, I used to be very anti-bait boat, you know.
Yeah.
I'm still not pro-bait boat, but God, there are times when, you know, on the last Eurobanx, we were fishing this large public lake, it's probably 60-odd acres. And out in the middle, it's impossible to reach, you know, And once that sort of early morning feeding spell was over, the fish had pushed quite obviously out into the middle of the lake. They were jumping 300-400 yards out. Yeah. And I stood and watched them for an hour. And after an hour, I was like, sod this. I've got a boat in the car. We've got Alan's RT4. I'm going to tow a couple of rigs out there. You know, Alan was spodding at range, and, you know, the guys were throwing, sticking in. I thought, well, I could be all carpy, Gaz Fairham and slash out a couple of hinges, couldn't I? And I might have nicked one, but yeah, I basically boated it out as far as I could until I could barely see it anymore where they were jumping. And before I'd got the boat back, I had a 40-pounder on the end, and then I had another one on the end, you know. And that was really the start of a quite amazing session, you know. I think at the time we thought it was really quite high stocks, but when I went back in December with Nick, ironically, and we did the same thing, boated him out, and he caught one of the 40-pounders that I'd caught. I caught the same big one again. I caught one that Alan had caught.
So it's not high stock at all.
No, well, actually, I think we made our way through quite a significant portion of the stock in those couple of days. You know, it's so yeah. Is it soulless? Well, yeah, a little bit. But you know, it's what you make it. It was fun fishing. It was really fun fishing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Wouldn't it be boring if we all did the same thing?
Yeah, totally. I don't necessarily think, and we all know that it is whatever it is to each individual, and each individual gets to draw their particular line in the sand without any judgments on anybody else. But it's interesting to see, it's interesting to see people's differences on that, because there's a school of thought with regards to that people that just really embrace everything, and they'll use boats, they'll use the whole camera systems, they'll use drones, they'll do the lot, and fair play to them. And there's a whole sort of issue around whether that will be sort of more widespread and acceptable in time as technology increases, etc. And then there's people that are the polar opposite.
You'll always have your traditionalists, won't you?
Yeah.
But you know, those same traditionalists might have 300-500 brand new reels sat on their pods, you know, but because they cast them, they deem that's acceptable to them. But it goes back to the point that fishing is a lot of things to a lot of men. If everybody fished like I did in the quiet corners, I'd have a horrible time.
It'd be a nightmare.
It'd be an absolute nightmare. Nearly swore then, like badly. It would be a proper nightmare.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy that some people, they just want to go and chill out, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I just want to go and chill out. I don't want to run around like a blue ass fly, you know. So did I fish badly on that trip? No, I fished how I wanted to fish.
Yeah,
you know? So
exactly.
I think people are a bit judgmental, aren't they? And we're all guilty of it.
Of course we are.
Yeah,
that's part of being a carper.
Do what
it?
Makes you happy.
Yeah.
Fish how you want to fish. Don't take any notice of anybody else.
Yeah, as long as you're not hurting anyone or messing anything.
Absolutely, I wear stupid hats, you know, like. And
you've got good, mate. People like those hats.
Yeah, but you know, bizarrely, like I get quite a lot of funny comments about that, but I deliberately. I've had a couple of people going, "Oh, wearing your, did your nan make that for you?" And I say, "Well, actually, yeah, she died, and like that's her curtains."
She hasn't died.
No, she hasn't died. No, and it wasn't her curtains, but like it's quite funny to slap them down with a bit of.
Yeah, that is a feature. Like of like, I think you are on social media, like you just go for it, don't you? Like if there's something there, you will wind people up or you'll do whatever.
I like having a bit of fun. I like having a bit of fun, yeah.
It's funny, mate. I've seen some.
The trouble is people can't see the twinkle in my eye online or my tongue in my cheek. You know?
There is. Yeah.
Some people take it the wrong way, but it's never meant like that.
No.
I mean, if you do something really stupid or write something really stupid, be prepared to justify that or to take some stick for it. Sorry, you know, I'd expect the same for me, you know.
I can't remember it. I wouldn't probably say if I could remember it, but I think there was a certain person having a dig at something with regards to your fishing, and I think they'd written some incorrect grammar or it was something, and I remember you just going into a.
I try not to be a grammar Nazi these days, but yeah, it's because there's lots of people out there with dyslexia, and I don't want to stop people from trying to articulate themselves, you know. So I'm much less of a grammar Nazi now. But if you're going to step to me, you better step correct. That's all I say.
What do you think about that, Hov? What do you think about social media, mate? Because it's just it is massive, and it's massive within carp fishing. What are your general thoughts about that? Because
the world's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, mate.
The world's massively changed, and sometimes I feel like a bit of a dinosaur, you know. Even though I do, you know, I'm fairly au fait with social media, but things like TikTok and that, you know, should I have a TikTok account? I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's hard to roll with the punches sometimes, and you can see certain anglers have like let social media pass them by. And for instance, Terry don't do social media, and it's only, you know, the likes of Jack Reed coming to ESP and making really nice films with him that have kind of stopped him from slipping into obscurity, because amongst a lot of young anglers, they wouldn't even know who Terry was. They wouldn't know who Terry was, you know. And so I think social media can be a great vehicle for people, but those that have ignored it have kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit, haven't they? So yeah, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, isn't it?
Yeah,
we're all sold this dream a little bit of, you know, people think that I live the dream, and some days I do, you know, but they don't, you know, we don't. I think it was Beadle who always said you don't photograph the blanks, and it's very true. It's very true. You know, so what maybe looks amazing and on social media maybe isn't quite as amazing as it looks sometimes.
No.
So take it all with a pinch of salt, you know. I love the fact that I can post a picture and I get messages and go, wow, that's inspired me to go fishing. That's an amazing thing. So it can be a really positive force, social media. Yeah, it can be inspiring, you know.
Yeah.
But keeping up the Joneses, I think some people feel that they have to at the expense of their own well-being.
Definitely, mate.
Yeah, you got to look after yourself. Like you can live a life without social media. Lots of people still do.
Totally.
It's not the be all and the end all.
No. But then there is the flip side where the industry now, a lot of it is.
Well, if you want to work in the industry and be involved in the industry, it's a vital part of it now. Yeah, you know, yeah. So maybe that's why, you know, some people have let it slip by the wayside. They don't need that hassle, and they don't need that. And it is, you know, like I post a picture pretty much every day on Instagram. Yeah. Try to anyway. Yeah. And that picture, I try to make it, if it's not a catch picture, I try to make it something aspirational, something that makes people dream a little bit, you know, makes them want to go fishing, makes them just escape their own life just for a few seconds. So it's quite important, I think. It's quite important. It's like feeding the birds. Like once you start feeding the birds, you've got to feed them every day. Yeah. And I feel a little bit like that with my Instagram, that I feel like I now have to populate it regularly.
I like that analogy. What sort of stuff do you get asked and direct messaged about? Is it photography? Is it fishing?
What's the best camera for 300 quid?
Is that what you get?
Still a bit. No, do you know what? I get that a little bit less now, but lots of people just want a little bit of affirmation that they're not doing it totally wrong. Yeah. And I think that's the thing with fishing and carp fishing. There's no wrong or right. There isn't wrong or right, you know. What is right is what makes you enjoy your fishing. So if you can give someone a little bit of confidence, which makes them go and sit there and enjoy themselves when they're on the bank, not pull their hair out or be paranoid or come home and feel like they failed in some way, then that's a good thing, you know. And I always try and give people a bit of positive affirmation. You know, I get loads of messages, and I don't get around to replying to all of them, but I do try and reply to a lot of them. So
yeah, imagine it's quite busy in terms of messages for you.
It can be, you know, like especially if I put, you know, it's amazing how instant social media can become. If I put something on my story, quite often I'll get loads of messages, you know, relating to that. I know Al does as well. Al gets like hundreds of messages. And it is, you know, it's part of my job to respond to those and to, you know, to help people where I can. And I try to, you know, I do try to help people. Try and help people enjoy themselves. Like, I can't make them be a better angler. No. I can help them to try, you know, to try and take a little bit of pressure off. Do you think that with everything, the industry, the value of the industry, people wanting to become part of it, do you think generally, and this is a massive generalisation, but people take it too seriously? Absolutely. But, you know, if you really want to do something, you have to take it seriously, don't you? Yeah. But, like, okay, for instance, I get a lot of questions, how do I do what you do? Yes. And that's hard because there is no qualification, there is no course, there is no college degree that you can take to put you in my shoes because my journey was my journey and it came about through various accidents of fate and chances and knowing the right people and timing and everything else. Timing, of course, yeah. You know, like trying to break into the industry now is really difficult. Yeah, really difficult. You've got to have a completely different skill set. You know, I was not even a photographer. I could write. You know, I could write copy. That was the main thing. I learned to use a camera on the way along. You know, but nowadays you need to be able to film. You need to be able to be literate. You need to understand social media. You need to be able to edit. You know, you need to your face needs to fit as well, you know. Sadly, same as anything in life, really, isn't it? Yeah. That's just the way it is. Yeah, it's the way of the world, isn't it? The way of the world. So yeah, it's difficult, and all I would say is don't do it at the expense of your own fishing and enjoyment. You know, that's the most important thing. Yeah. For the vast majority of us, and for even us in the industry, it is still an escape from the real world. Yeah. I always say that when I head back into the car to go back home and back to do the shopping and back to the real world. Back from La La Land. Yeah. It's amazing though, isn't it? Because you do. I mean, you just switch off, don't you? And then it's people's escape, you know. And I don't put too much pressure on yourself so that you don't enjoy it. I hate to hear about people who, well, I used to go fishing, but I just stopped enjoying it. And I think, well, you know, we've done something wrong there, like to make you feel like that. Yeah, it shouldn't be like that. Yeah, I think in a way, lockdown, I spoke to a lot of people. A lot of people have messaged over lockdown and got back into fishing, or they've got into fishing for the first time. It's amazing, isn't it? You know, certain industries, like a lot of people that I know in the entertainment industry, you know, their job's gone, their career's gone. But like on the flip side, angling has massively boomed, you know. Oh, mate, yeah. So, like, for instance, one of my local tackle shops, I know they were worried. They were worried about the future. You know, they may well have not lasted that long. And after lockdown, they did 3 record days, one after the other, and and so angling is in a better place as a result of it. Yeah, definitely. 100%, mate, which is a good thing. Can only be a good thing. Yeah, of course it is. You know, like, and I know people moan about, oh, the lakes were busy and this and that, but without people going fishing, angling will die. Angling will die. It will gradually be eroded and it will die. Like, you know, we need people going fishing. Yeah. So for me, the fact that there's now more people fishing than there were last year is a massive, massive boost. I don't care that the lakes are busier. I don't care that I have to share bank space with people and there's new angling, you know, because for me, that's a massively positive thing that will keep fishing going for the rest of our lifetimes. You know, without it, the smaller the group of anglers are, the weaker that we become, the smaller our voice. So yeah, don't knock new people coming into fishing. Accept them, welcome them, because they are the future. Yeah, they are the people that will keep angling going for the rest of us, you know. Yeah, exactly. What do you think you'd be doing if you weren't involved in angling in some regard, mate? Don't know. I mean, Alan always says music. I love music as well. It's one of my other big passions. Thing for you too, isn't it? Yeah, of course it is. You know, I did produce records. I'm a bedroom DJ like a lot of other people. I love going out raving and dancing, and so maybe if I was lucky, I would do something along those lines. Probably I'd be a Friday night angler like everybody else, you know. So it's just a lucky break and a lucky that I've got an eye for photography. That's kind of. Was it? It doesn't strike me as an ambition that you ever had to be involved in the industry. Never been ambitious. Really? Never been ambitious. Not ambitious. I actually, when I got offered that job at ACF, I actually nearly didn't take it.
Really?
Because I was sort of one of those carpy lads who didn't read magazines and who was rather anti-establishment and anti-corporate. And I had to ask myself, can you sell yourself? Can you sell your soul?
Really?
The answer is yes. And the answer actually is that I come quite cheap as well.
Yep.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's a funny situation, that. But it's the best thing I ever did. Of course it is.
Yeah. But fate, there's a lot of that in, isn't there? Like energy, fate, the way, like...
Yeah, and that's life. That's just the way life is.
Yeah.
Same as coming down to Nash, you know, maybe my time at ACF wasn't quite coming to an end, but I was getting to the point where I was commuting 120 miles a day pretty much every day when I wasn't out shooting features for no real reason. You know, nowadays, like 10 years later, working from home is a completely different... Yeah. You know, a lot of people work from home as standard, and I think probably the lads... I mean, the mags are dead now, but you know, they'd be working from home. But back then, it was a massive 2.5 hours of my day every day was spent travelling up and down the M1. Yeah. So when Nash offered me the opportunity to come and work and maybe work from home a bit more, it was a no-brainer. I got to the point after 4 years where I'd had enough of it.
Yeah, it's a killer. That it's a lot of travel, isn't it?
I mean, you know, you do a lot of driving yourself, Hassan. It sucks your life away, doesn't it?
It's I'm used to it and I'm sort of oblivious to it. But when you look back at it in terms of time, it is dead time. And like you will do 8 hours worth of drive. So for instance, for me, 4 hours here, 4 hours back, it's 8 hours of driving. That's 8 hours I could be answering emails or being productive.
Or 8 hours you could be spending with your family.
Or 8 hours I could be spending with family.
Or
which
fishing.
Is probably what I should have said.
Or fishing.
Yeah. Or fishing, exactly. So yeah, it is time and you don't really get time
life.
Back.
Yeah, it's your life, you know, and I think the older you get, the more acutely aware you become of that life is limited. You know, you only have a certain amount of hours in a day, and you only have a certain amount of days in your existence. So to try and maximise that and make the most of it is important. It is important.
Yeah, definitely.
I find myself really fortunate to be in the situation that I am at the moment, and to have lived the life that I've led over the last decade in the industry.
Yeah, mate. But you said at the very start of that sort of question, with regards to if you weren't doing it, music being a big influence, that whole sort of raving scene, did that marry up with carp fishing? Because I've spoken to a lot of carp anglers with obviously profile who are from that scene or love that scene. It's just
an era.
Well.
I think it's just an era. Back then, it's what you did.
Yeah.
You went partying on a Friday night or a Saturday night, and if you weren't going partying, you'd go fishing.
Or you'd leave your rods in, go for a party, come back and still be
I think that was perhaps the generation before me. Yeah. I was never one of those, you know. I've always just been, maybe we'd go fishing after the party.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's interesting.
Not the leaving the rods out thing. And it's funny, isn't it? You know, people hark back to the good old days of fishing. Yeah. You know, you get it a lot. You know, this is part of the technology discussion. Oh, things were better in the old days. Well, back in the old days, they used to chuck the rods out, go down the pub and get pissed, and you know, but there was loads of illegal fish movements. And so, like, actually, when you look back our entire carp angling history, people look at it through rose-tinted glasses. Like, there's a lot of irresponsible angling, and there was a lot of illegal fish movements.
You could not get away with anything that pretty much went on there, could you? Do you know what I mean?
So, you know, it's all very well harking back to the good old days, but the good old days weren't perhaps what they were made out to be by a lot of people. Maybe they were for some, but there was definitely an element of carp anglers these days do this and do that. Well, no, they're no different to carp anglers 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
What keeps you motivated or on the Horton Complex? Because we're going to talk about other venues in a bit, but Horton, you said there's 20 plus years of your life, mate, that complex.
Well, it's my angling home, if you like.
Yeah.
And you can only have a home with an away. So this year's been a bit odd. I've actually spent quite a lot more time than I would normally fish Horton.
Yeah.
And I find myself at the end of the year now, not fished out, but seeking new challenges. You know, I've always loved going back to Horton because I've not had enough time to fish there. But this year, I think everybody who was furloughed who was in the same boat, you know, we all fished more than we ever had before. This year, I haven't had the away to counterbalance the home. So, yeah, I've been fishing somewhere different this last month, and it's been a really welcome sale for me. You know, just to, and of course, you know, when it was really busy, I also had another little quiet venue that I could escape to in the summer, which I think without that, I would have felt very differently as well.
Yeah.
So keeping motivated, variety keeps me motivated, variety of angling experience. So that's not just carp fishing. You know, at this time of year, I do a lot of barbel fishing. I do a lot of perch fishing, do a lot of grayling fishing. A lot of my perch fishing is live baiting. So in order to catch live baits, you need to be a proficient light angler. You know, I enjoy that as much as
it's cool catching bait, isn't it?
Yeah, bait fishing is part of it. Knowing where to catch them, how to catch them.
Yeah,
it's part of it. So it leads you to be a more rounded angler, and that can only help you as a carp angler. Being just a carp angler. Yeah, I don't know. I think the very best anglers out there will catch it and fish for and catch any species that they put their mind to. Yeah, certainly in my experience, that's the case.
Yeah, it's a wholesome benefit to all your angling, isn't it? If you can do everything, it definitely benefits every aspect.
And it keeps you from being a bit snobbish. You know, carp anglers can be a little bit snobbish, talking about, you know, we all do it, noddy fishing and noddy bashing and pasty bashing, and you know, there's merit in fishing, full stop.
Yeah,
you know, we're all. If you catch fish and you return them to the water, then you are my brother. I don't care what you fish for. I don't care where you fish. You know, but you know, I think there's far too much division and people being divisive and trying to be cliquey and trying to say, well, he does it differently, and so, but, you know, we're all the same. You know, we need to stick together for the good of angling.
Right. Yeah, too right. Yeah, I think it's been a year of that in a way, though, especially with regards to everything that's gone on and being able to fish and sort of new people coming in. I think generally everyone's embraced it because they've realised how lucky we actually are to have it.
Like after lockdown, although it was really busy, the vibes down at the venue were great because, you know, we were all just relieved and happy that we could get back out fishing again.
Yeah.
So the fact that it was a bit busier than normal, you know, I think everybody sucks it up a little bit. You know, we realised that, you know, we all needed it. So, and in angling, we were really lucky. You know, I mean, in the last lockdown, you couldn't play golf.
I know.
I mean, like, what the hell?
I know.
Really bizarre. And yet you could go to a shopping centre. I mean, I went Brent Cross a few weeks ago and it was horrific.
Yeah,
horrific.
Ramo,
no social distancing. I mean, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, I don't mind. But when people wear a mask and it only covers half their face and it looks like your willy sticking out over the top, like
willy.
Yeah, sorry, I say something a bit more sweary than that. But yeah, willy sounds good, doesn't it? It makes you laugh. Yeah, but like either be a rebel or be a conformist. Don't be half-assed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing funny. There's nothing as queer as folk. That's what they say, isn't it?
Yeah, now it's queer as folk. Funny. But like the point is that we were really lucky to be able to go fishing, and bizarre that really certain other things were restricted as well. Anyway, like that's a whole different discussion.
We've gone politics, mate.
A whole different discussion. Yeah.
Horton wise, what I always see on your Instagram feed, some absolute scaly butte. You've been quite integral with regards to the sort of upbringing of the stock there, mate, haven't you?
I won't claim any responsibility for it because, like, the real hard work was done by Del and nowadays by Vince, you know, who's the head honcho there nowadays. And I'm there more in an advisory capacity, you know, when there's stuff to be moved about, I'm there. And I try and document it, you know, that's another thing that I'm really pleased that I've done is over the last sort of 5 years, no longer to be honest, because I've got pictures from like 2009 of fishing the tank which was stocked in Horton, a fish called Son of Wallace, and Benson. Benson was Bluebell's Benson, reincarnated as an English carp.
Really?
Yeah. Born the year it died, funnily enough.
Was
anyway,
it?
Yeah. So we ironically named it Benson. Named it Benson. But yeah, so it's been really nice to be able to be involved in that in some capacity and have some say in where they go and to watch the progression of these fish, you know. And we were really lucky. We called them like Dell's Legacy. 2015, we had a particularly successful spawning on the boat pool, and those fish have now all been stocked out in the lakes, you know.
So they're all in the lakes?
All homegrown. They were put out a little bit smaller than ideally we would have liked, but we just didn't have anywhere to grow them on. So ultimately it was a case of stick them in the lakes and let the anglers feed them. So at the moment, there's a few small ones still, but some of the better ones are already over £30.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, when they're rich venues and they can sustain numbers of carp without anglers food, you know, then you get some really outstanding results.
That's got to feel good though, mate, hasn't it?
Really good, really good. And like from a purely selfish point of view, I've sort of secured my fishing for the next however long, you know, as well as everybody else having nice carp to fish for. Every year there's a few more coming through. So as long as I don't catch too many, there will always be something for me to fish for.
Yeah.
So yeah, from a purely selfish point of view, I'm really happy because they're outstanding carp.
They are.
And I've got nothing against farmed carp. You know, there's a lot of my friends farm fish, but when you order 20 fish and they turn up and they're all identical, they're all 3/4 linears, you know, it kind of, variety is the spice. We already said that, and that's fishing experience and also the fish that you catch.
Yeah.
I think we've all been stocking scaly carp, haven't we, over the last 5 years?
In the trend.
There will come a point where we value the leathery ones and the ones without scales and the pale, fat, Italian-looking ones, you know, because they'll be the unusual ones. So, yeah, I think back in the old Simo area, everybody craved a scaly one because they were all fat, scaleless carp. Yeah. So variety is the spice, and I think the way we breed them on Horton, we don't strip the eggs. We gather the spawn from the lake.
Oh right, okay.
Weed. So it's a bit of a lucky
So they
dip.
sport. So essentially, it's
this year was terrible, for instance.
Oh,
so
right,
we've got pretty much nothing viable, but the last 3 years have been really good.
Right.
So it doesn't always work out. But
I thought you actually stripped the eggs, mate. No,
because it's, and you know, and that's why you end up with farmed fish when you've got 1 or 2 parent fish, or you know, they usually strip 2 males, don't they? I think.
Yeah, smaller gene pool, everything's
small gene pool. They all look the same. Yeah. Whereas you know, when you've got the whole lake stock involved, it's very much a lucky dip. You know, like I said, this year it was we did get a few, but they weren't viable, and a few stunted ones. But in previous years we've had some really successful ones, and those years are the ones which have secured the future of the complex. We will never need to buy fish again.
But I think that's so nice because obviously the complex has been such a big part of your life and a consistent home, if you like. But also, Dale, like your relationship with him, the whole learning, him passing, and then being able to take that on is
well, he's
beautiful.
He's left something behind a little more permanent than just memories. You know, these will be fish that will be the targets of the future. Indeed, some of them are already targets now. You know, I look back, we stocked a load of Suttons in Kingsmead in 2006, I think 2007. And again, back then, I think they were between £3 and £5. They were pretty small. Nowadays, people wouldn't stock them in that small. But very quickly, they became the targets. And now it's quite odd, you know, people who don't know the history, they go, oh, look at this beautiful old carp. And they're not that old. They're only a little bit older than 15 years old.
Yeah.
And although they look ancient, they're not, you know. But it's funny how people... this is why you need someone to be on a lake long term, because if you lose that information and you lose that history,
it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah. You know, people turn up and give them new names and make up. Back to carp anglers making stuff up that they don't know. We're really good at that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, you never say you don't know.
Take a wild guess, and a lot of it, you know, you can't refute it. You know,
because there's nothing to disprove it.
There's nothing to disprove it, except, you know, when you watch them in the edge a lot, there's a lot of theories that people come up with, and you go, well, that's just bullshit, mate.
Go, mate. I like this.
Well, it
what's
is.
Bullshit?
Well, I don't know that this colour and that colour works better than this and that. You know, ultimately, it's if you get a big fish swimming to the swim and it sees something that catches its eye, it's like a magpie eats it a lot of the time. You know, it doesn't matter that was a 12 mil or a 15 mil, or it was a green, or it was an off-white, or it was a yellow, or, you know, it is literally something
So you don't
visible.
think colour...
Do you know what? I read quite recently about another... well, I think it was Rob Hughes actually doing the diving thing, and I don't want to troll him, but like it was about what colours work best in winter.
That's right.
Well, bear in mind that we only have like 7 hours of daylight in winter.
Yeah.
And most of the bites come after dark.
At night, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You tell me what the best colour is. I don't know.
I
don't know. It's really hard to, unless you line 6 pop-ups up.
Yeah.
And you give the carp the choice and it chooses one of them.
Yeah.
How can you say which the best colour was? Yeah. It's very hard to come up with proper scientific explanations.
Yeah.
Even watching them is not scientific because every situation is totally different. You don't have a mean, you know, any scientific experiment, in order to be valid, you have to have that control, that mean.
Yeah, you can't control the variables when it's too much.
So, yeah, so it's really tricky, but anglers are very, very good at making stuff up.
Yeah.
Very good. And a lot of it just can't be disproved, can it?
No, I suppose you can, yeah, I suppose there's two thoughts. Like people just say stuff because they can't say they don't know, because it seemed as noddy-ish maybe. And then the other thing is, as you say, like, you can only go with your own experiences, can't you?
I'll tell you if I don't know.
Yeah.
Or if I, or if I do. I'm not trying to claim that I know everything. Far from it. I think the point is to claim that none of us know everything.
Yeah.
And it's the same as photography. Like, I'll never stop learning. I'll never stop learning about fishing. And the minute that you do proclaim yourself to be some sort of expert, well, then you've failed a little bit, haven't you?
Yeah. You can never shut off, mate. You're always learning.
No. So yeah, I like to keep watching them because they constantly surprise me, and they constantly, they keep me entertained. Carp TV, I call it. You know, what's more entertaining than watching fish doing what fish do?
Exactly, mate. You learn so much, don't you? You definitely do. I think it's massively enriching, and people don't do it, do they?
Nah. I mean, I always wanted a pond, you know, to be able to watch the fish in the pond, but actually, in more recent years, I've decided against going down that route because I kind of get that fix in my fishing for most of the year.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd actually teach me anything.
No.
Not really.
No.
Sometimes, you know, certain days are a good day when the pond fish are up for a feed.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's air pressure or moon phase or water temperature, I don't know. Like, I'm not an expert, but, you know, there are certain things which you can take from that controlled environment. But everything else is, every situation is different, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
So just be open-minded, I think, is the...
Yeah. I think observe, mate. A lot of people don't do it, do they?
Yeah, but not too much. Like, not when I'm fishing there anyway.
Yeah, don't go. I don't want to
share with you.
Just put some bait in there. So
no, but in all honesty, it's tricky. It's tricky, you know. Like, if you know that... So, like, I mentioned Tell earlier on, really successful on Horton this year.
Yeah.
And we've nicknamed him the Shepherd because certain anglers would simply, instead of doing their own watercraft, would go and fish next to Tell. Because quite obviously, Tell knows where the carp are. I mean... You know, it's tough, isn't it? If the local expert is fishing on there, then you know that he's very likely going to be on the fish. So it's a fine line between doing your own watercraft and...
That must be hard for you, though, mate, because you do go around, you do try and keep to the quiet corners and bait up. This is summertime, like on Horton.
I'm a victim of my own success as well in that, you know, but... Very quickly, I learned not to be selfish about that and not to try and jealously guard. You know, anglers are terribly bad for jealously guarding their own little honey holes and not sharing. And that's understandable. That is understandable. And it still burns me sometimes when you show someone something and the next minute it appears on a video that they've done.
Yeah.
Doing exactly the same thing that you were doing.
Yeah.
It's a bit sad, really, but you know, if it's a good tactic, you can kind of understand it. But it's a tough one. So poor old Tell, in the same boat as me, you just have to fish for one bite at a time and move on and accept that. I hate to use the word sheeped, but
you're going to get sheeped up.
It's been in my ear hole the last few weeks. That word.
You were Jim, aren't you? That's why, mate.
The king of the word sheep. Yeah. But no, he's absolutely right. You know, you do unfortunately get people who trade on your success. And when you put yourself up in the public eye, you have to accept that that's going to happen. So I don't get cross about it. I don't get angry about it. I don't get bitter about it. Yeah. Just move on and find another opportunity.
Adapt and evolve, mate.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. Yeah.
Too right.
And yeah, just try not to let it affect your enjoyment at all.
Getting sheeped up. A little hot back to the sort of not fishery management, but the sort of stock, the rearing of the Horton fish. For you, do you get as much buzz out of that as you do fishing?
Oh, massively. Yeah, I love to see them progress. And you know, again, being a photographer, it gives me some new material to photograph. I love taking nice pictures of those little carp that you know, I can look back in 15, 20 years' time when those are 40-pounders and top of everybody's list, and we can trace the history. In fact, there's a fish in the Woolpack, and it's called Life of Brian.
Yeah?
It's not called Brian, it's called Life of Brian, because its life has been documented all the way from a fingerling right through it. So, and I think that's a really cool thing to be able to look back at every stage of its life, you know.
Yeah, that is cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
So
nice.
I do get immense amount of satisfaction from that. I like the fact that really and truly they are the true originals of the lake. They were born in the lake. You know, everything else over the years has been stocked. Yeah, but they were born there. Yeah. So for me, I like that, and I like the fact that it's made the complex self-sufficient in terms of stock.
Yeah.
So not only do you not have to buy farmed fish anymore, but we have something that's very unique to the complex, you know, and some of those carp are really special.
Yeah.
But you can't buy them. Money can't buy them.
No.
You could be that. We get loads of offers. Like
Do
every
ya?
time I put a picture up, I get a message of like, can
Yeah.
you spare a few? Where can I buy these? You know, the fact is they're not my fish to
sell. Yeah,
sell, you know, but and the owner indeed, you know, although we rear more than enough for the complex, isn't interested in selling them because he realises that they are something exclusive, bespoke to the complex. If you want to catch Horton carp, you've got to come fish Horton.
You've seen that whole change as well with regards to ownership, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've kept my head below the parapet over the years and managed to hang on in there. I try to, yeah.
I don't want to put it above and get you chopped off.
Maybe I'm just lucky. No,
Yeah.
or maybe I'm just valuable enough that they've kept me on. But yeah,
Yeah, mate.
it was leisure sport when I first
That's right.
started, and then RMC, and then Cemex, and now it's RK Leisure.
Yeah.
And a lot of people sort of saw Rafa taking over as being a bad thing, but you know, he's done really great things. He invested heavily in the complex, and he's allowed it to thrive. You know, and certainly there's been a bit of a change of use, perhaps, of Raisbury. You know, I've not had any involvement in that, but some of the people that fished Raisbury back in the day were very unhappy about what happened.
Yeah, massively so.
But nothing stays the same, does it? And a lot of those people didn't even buy a ticket anyway. They were poaching it, so they've got no say in the matter as far as I'm concerned. You know,
yeah,
it's been protected for the future. At the end of the day, that could have been purchased, and there was no reason for it not to be backfilled. I don't think there was any protection on it.
No.
But he's ensured that fishing remains on that site for, well, forever.
Forever, yeah, exactly.
So
and the money, mate.
And created something quite special in its own right. Okay, so it might not be the Raisbury of old, but there is still that fishing out there. You go and fish Raisbury 2 if you want. You know, that's exactly the same sort of fishing. Yeah, I don't know. Some people you'll never keep happy.
You can't keep everyone happy. And things have to move on, don't they?
It comes to being able to evolve and move with the times, you know, and enjoy things while they're there, because nothing lasts forever. You know, we've all had that special bit of fishing. Yeah. And very, very little of it ever lasts, you know. There is one little venue, actually, that I've fished since I was 16, and it hasn't changed much. I'm still fishing for the same carp.
Really?
A little stretch of river, yeah.
Oh, that's lovely, mate.
And it hasn't changed, but everything else has.
Yeah. I think that I've spoke to Rafa on loads of occasions. I've been up there and been fortunate to fish it and film it. And, yeah, for what they've done money-wise and as you say, for the potential of that all could have been lost.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
I mean, there were lots of other interested parties, but would they have invested as heavily as he did? I don't think so.
It's like a Fendi couch in the lodge, mate.
I mean, it's not that. I mean, you can take or leave the lodge. The lodge is perhaps a little bit extravagant for a fishing lodge, for Horton Lodge. I loved the old Horton Lodge. It was bags of character. Yeah. It was freezing cold. Just have 3 heaters on in there, and it was still freezing cold. You know, the new Horton Lodge is a different thing altogether. But the fishing is the same. It hasn't changed. And the same as Raisbury, you know, like the lake is still the same. If you go around the back of those finger bays on the South Lake, it's still as wild as it ever was, you know.
You've taken me around there, mate. It's wild.
You know it, Hassan, you know. So, yeah, I don't know. If things change, you have to accept it. You have to accept it.
Of course, mate. No, 100% totally. Looking at sort of the future fishing for you, you said that you've been at home a lot on the complex Horton. So moving away from that, you've obviously been at the Woolpack last few weeks or so.
Well, I went filming with the lads at the beginning of November. Yeah. It was a bit of a last minute thing. There's been a change of ownership there, and they invited us down to do a bit. And I turned up just at the end when they were shutting down. And actually that week that I arrived, I'm sure I was really, really close to catching one. Really close. Like, I didn't, and the lads spent the week filming me, so I feel a little bit obligated to
put that right.
Continue there, and it's. Do you know what? I've really relished the challenge. It's been an amazing place. And I've been at home all year this year. You know, all the filming projects that we had planned, and there were some big projects, have all kind of fallen by the wayside. So I really needed something. I needed a change. I needed a new challenge, and that came around at just the right moment. I'm enjoying it. I'm still failing miserably. Not failing miserably. I shouldn't say that.
Learning.
Yeah. It's tricky fishing at a tricky time of year. You know,
Definitely.
You're fishing for carp which are well fed for most of the year, and yeah, they don't need to. That's the thing. No, they are well fed by all the members. Like you know, and it's what keeps them big and healthy ultimately. But it also means, and this goes for carp fishing in general, is that we feed them so well throughout the year that actually they don't feed in the winter like they used to. They used to be a big autumn winter feed up.
Gone,
the only places where the fishing is good at this time of year are the places which don't get fished a lot, you know, because the carp are still hungry and they haven't been fed high quality bait all year. Yeah. So any venue is tricky. You know, it's not just me that's been struggling. There's been a lot of other people around the country struggling with the conditions and with the carp just not being that active. And yeah, it hasn't affected my enjoyment. I've made some new friends already. I know I've really been enjoying it, and I will do. Keeping it sort of balanced with a bit of rod bending, a bit of local barbel fishing,
nice
perch fishing. Yeah, try to, you know, and that's what you have to do. The minute that you find yourself being sucked in and not enjoying it anymore, it's time to take a step back.
Yeah.
It's very easy to become obsessed, like really obsessed.
Yeah.
I've been lucky. I've never had the time to be obsessed before.
You have now.
Well, I've got a bit more time, but I'm very keen. I'm very keen that I don't waste it, Hassan. You know, like time can be your enemy as well. It's very easy to waste it when you've got 3 days or 4 days. You know, I've never had that luxury before, and I don't want it to negatively affect my angling now. And
you mean like not be as active?
Yeah, of course. So like, if someone said to me, right, you've got to sit there for 3 days, and at the end of that 3 days, you'll catch a mid-30 guaranteed. Will you take it? Oh, I wonder if that's Nick phoning me.
Is that Nick calling on the podcast?
That'd be funny.
Game on.
It's a Nick, but it's not the same Nick. That's a shame.
That
would
have been. We could have talked about baiting poles.
Mate, yeah, we could have done. Carp brothels and baiting poles.
Carp brothels, yeah.
No, it's really it's easy to become sapped of motivation, particularly at this time of year.
Yeah.
And when you've got time as well, you know. So I try not to spend a lot of time sat boring them out. It's easy to do. Do you know? Maybe it's something which I should have done more of this time of year, is being a bit more prepared and less reactionary. Had more baited areas to drop onto when I couldn't find anything. But I've found my fishing in the last 2 years become totally reactionary.
Yeah.
Totally reactionary. You know, reacting to what I see and what I find. I can't just sit there with a long-term plan. I can't do it.
You sort of said it that one time we fished. You said it to me a lot. I won't fish unless I see something and I know something's there. And I was like, really? And then you saw it even in that session. It was just not fishing it, boys. We're going to go here. We're going to go there. We're going to go there. We chop around, and we didn't necessarily have a great period of time. But the time that we did have rods in the water, there was activity and there was a chance.
Just trying to get through to people that even if you've only got an hour, if you can catch them really quickly. You know, I think a lot of the time, this is where it's changed for me. Is like I would maybe rock up and I would be preparing a trap for the following morning.
Yeah.
Nowadays with the pole, you're looking to catch one there and then within 15 minutes, half an hour, an hour. And if you haven't caught one, it's moving on to find another chance.
Yeah.
Because you can fish like that, casting at them, chucking singles at them, even lowering a rig in the edge. Sometimes, you know, it's a much more long-term thing.
Yeah.
And I just haven't got the patience and the...
Yeah. No, it was nice to sort of see, you know what I mean, see somebody like say it, but also see it through so true. You're like, I just won't fish all day if there's not an opportunity.
Yeah, I'd rather walk around, do several laps, bait them. Sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like there's no rhyme or reason to it. There'll be an edge day where they're all in the edge on all the lakes, and there'll be a day where you won't find a single fish in the edge. Yeah. Those days, sometimes I don't fish.
Yeah.
Right, but the pole has certainly widened my arsenal a little bit because it's allowed me now to fish for carp which are not right in the edge.
Yeah.
You know, I can now do that same style of reactionary fishing, but I can do it 50 metres out in the lake if I can see them there.
And is that style what you're going to try and keep when you've got a bit more time and you're on the wool pack rather than...
Yeah, you've got to fish to your strengths, Hassan.
Yeah.
You know, and that is what sets me apart from other people. That
definitely.
lack of attention span almost, you know. It's the same. I mean, ours the same. He's even more to the nth degree. You know, he'd rather throw a ball of maggots at them and keep throwing a ball of maggots at them until one of them finally gets bored, so pissed off that they like, get this out of my face. So, but yeah, I'm maybe just the next level down from that, but still.
Yeah, same ilk though. Definitely the same
Well, I'm
ilk.
glad you've put me in the same ilk as Alan. That's a very distinguished ilk to be in, for sure.
Well, I think
I think it's just it's born of being limited on time, and I realised that time limit has shaped my angling for the better.
Yeah.
Not sitting there for a week, you know. It's just not me. It's just not me.
Yeah, totally. So we talked about Woolpack. We talked about that being a future.
Well, it's another one on the
On the
horizon.
list.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, I got an email off Alan, something about Spain in January. So
I saw that.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I saw that in the old diet.
I just put "I'm in" capital letters, exclamation mark, kiss.
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 2 kisses?
2 kisses, yeah.
Yeah, you're close friends.
Yeah. I'm in. No, because I need that variety. I need it. I'm missing it. As so, like in the previous 5 years, for instance, where we've done a lot more stuff abroad, you know, I've really relished coming home and fishing at home because of the away stuff, like I mentioned earlier. But because we haven't had that, now I'm missing the away stuff.
You've had some results away, mate. I remember watching, and I can't remember, forgive me, my ignorance, especially for being part of the team, which Nash DVD it was, but the Teliat's Common, mate.
Yeah, that was just...
That fish, mate, just looked...
People still come up to me now. It's one of those ones...
Massive.
Yeah, 80-pounder.
Well, just the length of it could have been 180 £180. It was
it's amazing.
It was
carp.
ridiculous.
Amazing carp. Yeah, it's one of those things that people remember. Ironically, I've mentioned it before. I lost one at Rainbow as well, a really big one on the last day of my first trip, which was maybe around the same size as that.
Your trip with Crowie, wasn't it?
Trip with Crowie, yeah. And I was looking down at Crowie 62 in the net half an hour later, and I wanted to cry because I'd had this thing, touched it, you know, trying to get it into a net that was kind of attached to a stick in the margin, and I just couldn't get it in the net. And eventually,
you just couldn't get it in the net.
I couldn't manoeuvre it into the net. Yeah. There was a branch that was preventing me from engulfing the whole fish in the net. And eventually, it sat there docile for a couple of minutes, but eventually it flipped its head. And I was using a size 2 Fang X, and they are not insignificant hooks. They are big, strong hooks, and it just straightened it like a pin. Because it was the hook link was wrapped around the stick, and it was literally had 6 inches of line. And you know, when you've got something that big, something has to give.
Yeah,
something has to give, and in that case, it was that. And I made a desperate scoop with the net and shouted a loud expletive out across the lake.
What'd you go for? F?
No.
S? C?
C. Yeah.
C.
Yeah, with a very pronounced T on the end.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was one of those moments in your angling which is a seminal moment. It would have been a fish that you don't want to call it a career maker, but it's one that people remember. When Crowie caught Eric's Common, you know, it's one of those captures that you remember. You know, when I caught that Teliat's Common, it's one that people still say to me today. So there's been a couple of other ones over the years, but that's the one that really sits in my memory as being what could have been. But the Teliat's fish was an amazing trip, really. You know, it didn't actually fish particularly well on that trip, but we did catch just a couple of really nice ones. Yeah. Funnily enough, like people remember the Common, but I also caught a 66-pound mirror on that trip, which if I could have chosen the two, I think I would have chosen the mirror.
Would you?
Yeah, it was a really incredible old fish.
Wow.
Yeah, Steve Sinclair, a friend of mine, he'd caught it 20 years previously, I think.
Yeah.
Where he 29 pounds or something.
Nice.
So in that 20 years, it had grown from 29 to 66.
66, jeez.
Big scaly thing, big grey scaly thing.
That's a big old chunk.
Awesome fish. So yeah, if I could have actually chosen, I think I would have probably chosen the mirror.
It's not a bad trip though, is it, mate? Mirror and a Common.
It's all right. I had a couple of other fish, but those were the two that really sort of stood out.
I just remember that scene of you holding it in the water, that Common, and just thinking that is the biggest thing I've ever seen.
It's funny. When I had the bite, I was sat processing images every night because everybody was catching. Wilson in particular had
Wilson had a great trip, didn't it?
Great trip. So I was trying to stay on top of the images every night. I'd sit in me bivvy and I'd process the pictures, so I didn't come back to like 1,000 images to process, which can be really time consuming. And I was sat there, and it was about midnight, and I had a drop back. And at the moment that I had a drop back, something enormous launched itself out over the spot as well, and it made me hesitate over the rod. You know, I thought, well, was that a liner? Or did it spook something? Did it launch out? Anyway, I ended up picking it up, and the fish was on the end. And after a fraught battle, which I didn't turn my head torch on for the entire battle, I knew I had something big.
Yeah,
you know, and my legs were shaking, and I felt physically sick. You know, I went down on my knees. Al had seen the bite; he'd seen that there was something going on, and he called me, and he was like, have you got one? And I was
He
like,
called you?
yeah,
What do you
he
mean?
phoned me. Like, he was fishing on the
So you're
the opposite
playing
bank.
this clearly big fish, and Al's on the phone.
He phoned me afterwards. He's like,
Oh,
what
right,
have you got?
afterwards.
Yeah. Not
Well,
while I'm
enjoy
playing
the
it.
fight. I thought this guy.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't enjoy the fight at all. Not in the
No.
slightest, because you don't. Like, I often don't enjoy the fights.
Yeah.
For me, like, the bite is the best bit. But really, especially when you know that you've hooked something special,
It's
the
horrible,
last thing
mate.
you want is that. I lost one this year at the net, like a 40-pound fully out of Kingsmead. This is the one that probably burns me the most this year. I had 6 bites in a couple of hours, but the one that I really wanted to land was the one that I lost, and it was doing crocodile rolls in front of the net cord, and I saw really clearly which one it was. Fish, ironically, that we talked about, Sutton, that I'd stocked in 2006. It's gone on to be a 40-pound fully scaled, Queen of the Lake. Never caught it. Caught it the month it was put in as a 5-pounder, but in that time I've never caught it. It was one I really wanted in my album. Sometimes they're just not meant to be.
Yeah,
though,
it's
are
not
they?
meant to be.
Yeah.
What can you? Yeah, but they are gutters, aren't they, mate? There's
Real,
no
when you know what it
worse-
is, that's the worst thing. Yeah.
There's no worse feeling. Yeah, but you've had some results, which is good, mate. But Rainbow
Rainbow was incredible. Yeah, it was one that I really wanted to just tick off the bucket list, and ended up being the start of a bit of an obsession. I guess anybody who's ever been to Rainbow will understand that it's somewhere that whatever anybody tells you about it, until you experience it for yourself, you can't understand the fishing, the camaraderie, everything about it. Yeah, awesome place.
Jurassic Park.
And with COVID this year, I had a trip at the beginning of April with my good mate Snowy.
Yeah.
And it got cancelled. You know, we had a good swim at a good time of year. Gutted.
It's not exactly the easiest place to get on, either,
and it's
is
not,
it?
you know, that's it. That was my trip done. I don't know when I'm going to get back on there. So as much as I've been really lucky to have a trip, I don't know when I'm going to get back again.
You'll get back on there, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure I will at some point.
Yeah.
But everybody wants a good photographer, don't they?
Oh, yeah. of course they do. What an edge that is.
Yeah, take a good photographer with you.
Podcast doesn't really work the same, does it? I'll do a pod. No. Yeah, but that's a mega venue, mate.
Oh, you can take me. If you get a trip, I'll come with you.
Yeah, if I get a trip, I'll take you.
I'll take you some nice pictures.
Cameraman is perfect. Creative blanking shots. No, but that looked a mega trip that you had with Crow. I remember you had like a couple of fish really quick and good ones, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just my style of angler. The first 24 hours, I was absolutely tearing my hair out because I didn't think there was particularly many fish in front of me, and I wanted to go and find them. You know, as is the way. Eventually, I'd sort of accepted that I had to make the best of what was in front of me, and there were fish in front of me, and I fished for bites, and I caught the ones that were in front of me. When the second half of the week, there was nothing there, and I didn't catch any. The last day, they turned back up again, and I lost that giant. Everything was packed away. I was sat there watching them jump, and I knew I was going to get a bite. 1 o'clock in the morning, I knew I should have been sleeping because I had to drive all the way back home the following morning. But yeah, exciting fishing. Yeah.
Savage bites?
Nah, not where I was
where you
fishing. Yeah, I mean, if you fish somewhere like 17, I don't know if you've ever watched any of Moz's videos where you're basically just it's snag fishing extreme.
Yeah,
extreme,
mental.
Yeah, I'd love to have a trip there. I had to turn down a trip to 17, ironically. But you can't.
It'll happen, mate.
Can't do everything.
As you say, everything happens for a reason, and yeah, you'll get back on there, I'm sure, mate. Put that.
Oh, I'd like to one day, yeah, for sure.
Lovely, mate. Right, a couple of features that I run on this pod. One of them is called the People Versus. Pretty similar to like last Christmas, where you went through some comments that you had.
Oh, mean comments.
To them. Mean comments, we'll call it, for want of a better word. So it's the People versus Oli Davies. I've picked out a few for you to react to. I'm going to make sure that I reference which video they're from. So feel free to react however you like. Oh, mate, you're a dab.
I'd probably laugh, you know, if they've gone for a good bit of humour.
Some of them are pretty funny. So from your half a rap video, very popular video, Alan Haig. Try fishing half a wrap on a big northern pit. Ha 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 ha.
Well, I will one day. Why would you fish any other way? Fish are the same everywhere, mate. They love the margins. The bigger the lake, often the more time they spend in the edge, you know?
Yeah.
So someone said something similar about try going doing it on a low stocked venue, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, I will. Yeah. Don't worry. It's the best way of fishing for them.
They love the edge.
Yeah, they love it.
You'd have them as well, mate. From the In the Edge video, or The Edge video, 2 comments on similar lines here. I'll read them out both together. We've got Jim McGoldrick, who said, WTF, I think it's who the turns up at midnight in winter. And, on the similar lines, Horror Freak London, good YouTube name. Nothing more annoying than someone rocking up and setting up at midnight.
Good angling, isn't it?
If you're catching them.
Hey, look, if you want to bore them out, that's fine, but I'm only there for a quick bite. So, and I'd certainly rather someone rock up at midnight and pole their baits out to me than I would someone rock up at any time, fresh it to a foam and spod the granny out of it.
Good defence, very concise, very well put. Last one, this is from your the mission video with Samir.
Okay.
From
That's a few years ago now. I mean, that was a good trip, that was.
We need to talk Samir and stuff as well, mate.
Yeah,
what a boy.
Yeah,
we need to get on that trip.
Legend.
I was meant to go out with him this year, got cancelled.
Yeah.
Gutted.
We're all in the same boat, aren't we?
Yeah, I wish I was in the same boat as him. Yeah, from the mission, Random Vids TV Matty, another good YouTube.
Great name, Matty. Sure, you've got loads of followers, guys.
He's put no point asking him questions. He's up himself nowadays, and he never answers questions. Good video though from Nash and Oli, but only missing one thing. Alan Blair. Bring on the next Eurobanx.
What can I say? Eurobanx is great, isn't it?
He's gone like negative, up himself. He doesn't answer questions. Positive, and then positive again.
If I see your message, I'll answer it. If you've messaged me and we're not friends, it goes to a folder called message requests, which I don't check, to be honest with you. So if you've messaged me and it's gone to request, I'm sorry, I haven't seen it. Simple as that.
Good. Not a swear word in sight there, mate. You've done very well.
Well, you know, like, I don't want anyone to think that I'm negative or ignorant because, like,
you're not.
I mean, you know, you got the likes of Jules, for instance, like Legend Jules, who has responded to every bit of correspondence that anybody's ever sent to him. You know, I have massive respect for that. And I try and do that. But I'll be honest, like, there are times when I'm not feeling myself, you know. I'm not up to, I don't want to speak to people, you know, like, so if you've sent me a message on one of them days, then maybe you wouldn't get a response, you know, because we've all got our own battles to fight. And I'm not just, you know, there to...
24/7.
24/7.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Fair play, mate. No, fair play. Another section, Carp gossip. This is brilliant. So I had some great answers to this. What is the funniest rumour or piece of gossip you've heard about yourself?
God, I don't know if I've actually heard any. Come on, someone send me some bits of gossip that I was supposed to have done.
There's probably loads, mate.
It's probably all true, Hassan, to be honest.
There's always rumours about... There must be rumours about you fishing lakes you're not even fishing, baiting up, poaching. There's loads
of true.
It's all true. Guilty.
It's all true.
Guilty.
No, I don't know. I don't know. That my full-timer? Well, I sort of am a little bit more full-time.
But you weren't.
Now.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I honestly don't know that I have heard anything. Does that mean that
there might be no...
I might not be talking to the right people?
You probably just... Yeah, probably just you're probably just getting on with your life, mate. Do you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
to. Mate, if there's any good rumours, like any of you, please just let me know what you've heard, and I'll tell you whether they're true or not.
Yeah, that's good. I like
They
that.
are,
Put
mate.
them in the comments.
They probably are.
And one that I ask everybody, words of wisdom. What would you say is the greatest piece of advice you've ever been given with regards to fishing, and then also the best piece of advice outside of fishing?
Oh, with regards to fishing, mate, I get so many words of wisdom, but I mean, I don't know. Has anybody said fish for a bite at a time? That's kind of, for me, that's, I don't know. Has anyone said that to me? If I was to give a word of wisdom, that would be it. Fish for a bite at a time.
Yeah,
don't be greedy. You can be greedy after you've caught that first one.
Yeah.
Can't you? Words of wisdom.
Outside of fishing? Anything that
I'm
shaped
just
your life?
probably too ignorant to listen
you're not
to
ignorant.
it.
You're definitely not.
Oh, just try and be nice to people.
Yeah?
Just try and be nice, yeah. Everybody's got their own battle to fight, haven't they? You know, and I just touched on it a minute ago. You know, sometimes I've had a shit day, you know. Sometimes something horrible's happened in my life, and people sometimes expect you to be at their beck and call all the time. The worst one, someone will send you a message and you don't answer it immediately, so they send you question marks. Or they say, like, they get shirty, and you're
the question
come
mark's
on,
not
man,
the one,
like,
is it?
yeah.
Yeah, the question mark is not the one. Yeah, fair.
I'm far less inclined to answer them ones.
I'm just going to send you question marks all the time now, mate.
Well, mind you, Hassan, like, you're the prime example. You messaged me last night. You still okay for the podcast this morning?
Yes.
And when did I reply to you? 12 hours later or
Dunno,
something
mate.
like that. I'm a terrible texter.
I didn't send you I didn't send you a question
No, it
mark.
was a message. No, but the point is that I might read it when I'm in the middle of doing something and not have time to reply. Sorry if I owe you a reply, anybody.
No, you're right, mate. I've took that
sorry.
as you coming.
Yeah.
He's coming.
Do you know what? It's hard. It's hard. Like in this, when you receive loads and loads and loads of messages,
It's
you
tough.
can very easily suck up loads of your life replying to it. And people don't just want one reply. So they'll ask you what the best rig and bait is, and you tell them, and then they come back with another one and another one and another one and another one. And you know, it's not that you don't want to have a conversation with someone, but when you've got 30 people doing the same thing, it quickly takes up a lot of your life.
Yeah, it's time.
So, yeah, I apologise to anyone I haven't replied to over the years.
Fair play,
Sorry.
mate. For you, obviously you've had a change in role. We're looking forwards to the future. And you said you're not ambitious. What do you see as a route to the future? Do you look that far ahead?
No, I've never have done, Hassan.
Not at all.
I've not got a life plan, life goals. You know, we talked about Lou earlier on. Good friend Lou Porter. We are polar opposites. Like Lou needs a rigid, structured diary. That makes me squirm and cringe. Hate it. I like to live life off the cuff, man. Yeah.
Always have, always will.
I think as you get older, you become a bit more polarised, don't you? In everything, in your characteristics and traits, you know. And I've never liked being told what to do. I've never, I've always been my own man, doing my own thing. So, and I've never been a massive planner. I like to have some. What's the word? Spontaneity. You know, I like a bit of surprise in my life. You know, that's what makes life interesting. Yeah. If everything's too routine and too structured and too organised, I find myself like a caged animal. It's not a bit of me. Routine is not a bit of me.
Yeah, but nothing that you want to achieve or goals that you've got.
Not really. No, I know, and that sounds really weird, but I consider myself. I'm not old. I'm like 43, and I'm 44. But I've lived a good life. If I was to die tomorrow, one of my best mates, his young daughter died of cancer last year, and I said to him then, and I mean it 100%. If I could have given her a life, I would have done. Yeah, because I've lived my life. So, yeah, that's maybe a bit emotional, but it's true because every day's a gift, isn't it? Every day's a gift.
But I think it takes stuff like that, and as you get older, with life experience and with just the fact that we are all fallible and mortal, you see it, don't you? And you just think, if it's somebody who's lived a life and a good life, then yeah, if it's kids, mate, it is just an absolute. I mean, I couldn't imagine it.
Yeah. So I try not to waste days feeling unhappy or doing stuff that I don't want to do now, because life is short.
Yeah.
Life's really short, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe that has changed me a little bit.
Yeah, it will do though, won't it, mate? I think that's a good thing. I think if it didn't, there'd be something slightly strange.
So yeah, I don't know. In terms of plans for the future, I don't know. I don't really have any. I take it as it comes.
What about outside of angling? You the same with the missus? Quite chilled, quite.
Yeah, quite spontaneous. Well, yeah, maybe not romantic, but certainly spontaneous. Yeah,
that's good.
I don't know if I decide that I want to do something, I'll do it. Because it's quite hard to. If I've suddenly decided, we have a lot of arguments. She called me obsessed the other day. It was hilarious. Like, we've been together 16 years or something, and she called me obsessed by fishing. But I just decided that I wanted to go fishing for an hour that evening, and I don't know. She was sat in front of the telly. She probably wouldn't have even noticed that I'd have been gone. Like, but yeah, sometimes even when I know it's going to cause trouble, I've got to do it.
Yeah, but you
got to.
So that you are driven when your mind's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
But your mind could be there like that.
But it's the same as the angling. It's reactive. You're reacting to a situation or a particular feeling or an emotion, and you can't plan that, man. Like,
no,
I can't anyway.
No, it's cool, mate.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah,
it's the way it is. I don't. It's been quite nice if I don't have to set an alarm. Some people get up at the same time every day. I'm not that person. I like to take each day as it comes. I'm in a lucky situation, Hassan, at the moment where I can live like that. It hasn't always been that way for me.
But in a way, you've created that situation by.
To an extent, yeah. But again, I'm in a lucky situation where I have been able to engineer it slightly to my advantage. Not everybody's in that situation, but everybody has the potential or the chance to step outside their comfort zone. I don't know what's going to happen in my life, and in the next few years, but I'm not scared of it.
Yeah, you don't particularly care.
I'm not scared of it. I don't have any fear of that. You know, a lot of people worry about the future. They worry about things that they can't change.
Yeah.
Worry about the things that you can change. Like if that's one thing one bit of advice, you know, is change the things that you can change. Don't worry about what X and Y is happening in the world where you have no control over it. You know, you can't do anything about it. So don't let it affect your life negatively. And there's a lot of that going on at the moment. Let's face it, you know, with what's going on in the world, there's a lot of scared people out there.
Yeah.
But they're scared about things which really they have no control over.
Yeah. You're very present, mate, aren't you? Like now.
Yeah, of course.
Future.
Because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
But even past, mate, is very like...
I don't get me wrong, I'm sentimental, man. And a lot of the photography stuff, you know, I'm quite a visual creature. I'm very driven by those visual memories, you know, and I love a picture now because it evokes the strongest memories. And I appreciate for other people that it does as well. But yeah, in terms of living life.
You don't live there, though, in the past.
Do you know, like today, yeah? I don't know what I'm going to do today when I finish this. Might go fishing. Might not. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, you know, because you need to stay motivated. That's another thing. Maybe I just have peaks and troughs of motivation. Someone like Alan, for instance, super motivated all the time. All the time, yeah. You know, and amazing. I wish I had that energy, to be honest, but I don't all the time. When I do...
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, and you know, it's the same with the fishing. Fishing with like Jim's the same. I think most of the top anglers that you see, they're just active, and they're not baiters and waiters. They're driven by the need to change something to
make it happen.
To make it happen, make it happen is the way. Yeah.
Nice, mate.
Same with life, isn't it? You know, if I want to do something, I'll go all out and do it. But yeah, you've got to have that passion. If you've got that passion to do something, then it will take you right to the top, right to where you want to go.
Yeah, I love that, mate. That's cool. Question that I ask everybody, and just before we round off with a quick fire round, which you'll love. Oh God, that's...
Do you know? But that's totally against like we talked about the Insta story thing earlier. Like some people like Alan are really good at Insta stories, but for me, my photography is all about creating that perfect image and that perfect moment, and I don't want to show the imperfections. I don't want to show the working out, and like the story side of things is very much maybe showing the nitty gritty and the in between.
It's the raw,
the raw stuff. Yeah, I find that really difficult. I want to provide something inspirational and aspirational, polished. Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, by the by, that just made me think of that.
I like that though. It's good analogy, mate. I like the difference in you as a character. It's cool. I find it really cool.
Everybody's different, isn't they?
Yeah, it's cool. That's what's beautiful about people.
Boring if we walked in the same direction, wouldn't it? Never bump into each other.
Yeah, exactly. What would you consider to be, at present, your greatest achievement in life?
Inspiring people to go fishing, if that's one thing. And I only know that because I get some really nice messages off people. Yeah. And if you've ever sent me I apologise to the people who I haven't got around to replying to, but I do get some messages off people which I have to reply to because they're moving. Like when someone says you've changed my life, you know, and you've helped me through tough times, and you know, how can you not react to that? So like anybody who's ever, and it takes effort and time to message someone who you don't know and say, you know, and open up like that. If you've ever said, that really,
that's a big shout.
It's a big shout. So if anybody who's ever messaged me like that, you know, I thank you, because that genuinely means a lot to me. It does.
Yeah, of course it does, mate. Because people don't know you, and
to feel like you've done something positive for someone, and I haven't. I've done it for me. I've not done it for them.
Yeah,
I've done it for my OCD and my passion. But the fact that that's inspired somebody else,
it's massive,
help
isn't it?
them. Yeah, of course, man. Don't take that for granted.
Yeah,
appreciate
never.
So thank you to anybody who's ever taken the time to message me, even if I've ignored you. I apologise.
Right, we're going to end with a quick fire round, mate. All right, set of questions. Answer whatever comes into your head. UK 50 or foreign 70?
Having had both.
Completed it.
I'm going to say foreign 70.
Foreign 70.
Because Carp are Carp, aren't they?
To me, they are, mate.
It could be a UK 50 and Israeli stocky, or it could be a foreign 70 that's 50 years old and has lived in a massive gravel pit.
Yeah.
So, subjective.
Take it.
Yeah. Okay, go on.
Take the 70. Bait boat or baiting pole?
Baiting pole.
I thought you'd say that. Would you rather experience carp fishing 20 years ago or 20 years in the future? The man who lives
really
in the,
hard one, isn't
the
it?
man who lives in the present.
20 years ago.
20 years ago. Dawn or dusk?
Dusk.
Never use a shelter again or never use a bed chair again?
Oh, never use a shelter. I love my bed.
Under the stars. Leads and no bite alarms or bite alarms and no leads?
Leads and no bite alarms quite frequently.
Yeah. That is you, isn't it?
Yeah. Fishing for rustlers. We like that.
Rustlers?
Oh, you put it down on the reeds, didn't you? And you wait for the reeds to go, shh.
Oh, I haven't heard. I like that. I thought you meant the burgers, the rustlers.
Oh, no.
A professional angler or a professional footballer? What would you rather be?
Professional angler.
Yeah.
If there is such a thing.
Well, yeah. Get paid. What's the definition of professional? If you get paid for what you do? There you go. Always torrentially raining when you're fishing or always 30 degrees and windy?
Oh, man. 30 degrees and windy. I'm made of PVA.
That I'm going to put in the trailer. I'm made of PVA. Would you rather catch 10 20-pounders or 140?
10-20s.
For the rest of your life, you can only listen to drum and bass or country and western.
Duh.
Country and western. Yes. Dolly Parton remix, drum and bass.
Dolly Parton bootleg, yeah, I'm up for that.
I bet you've got a Dolly Parton mix.
I bet I have, yeah.
This is a complete aside, but when I joined Nash, I got loads of messages saying, "Oh, you're going to be listening to drum and bass and wearing Air Maxes pretty soon." And I was like, I listen to more like...
What are those, actually?
They're actually Nike Frees, mate, so don't give me the what are those with your hats. And somebody said, I said to somebody as like as a throwaway comment, yeah, like I'm like Adele and slippers, mate, or something. And he then sent me a sample of an Adele drum and bass mix.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of them, mate. Yeah,
it's a dark world out there.
better than the original, mate.
Nothing wrong with Adele, mate. In a bucket or dig a hole?
Dig a hole.
Would you rather fish a 2-week session without changing your socks or a 2-week session without changing your underwear?
Oh, there's nothing like fresh socks, is there?
Feet.
Fresh socks, mate. They're the one.
A very infamous guest, right, said on this very subject, your arse can take a lot more than your feet can. Which I think is just the best way to answer that question.
Yeah, nice fresh pair of socks, mate.
Nice. Hook bait colour choice, if you like. Bright or match the hatch?
Well, we've discussed one day match the hatch.
Nice.
About
Camo or olive?
Camo standard.
Last.
Camo and orange.
Look at that. Right, last question. Date night with the missus or hit the lake on the end of a big pressure drop and a southwesterly?
Oh, date night with the missus, man. Like, they're overrated, big pressure drops and southwesterlies. They are.
But date nights with the
Massively
missus aren't
overrated.
they?
Yeah, especially if she listens to this. Love you.
Love you. Ollie, mate, you've been an absolute legend. That was a genuine joy to listen to, mate.
Thank you, Hassan.
We need to get out on the bank. It's inspired me, definitely, mate. But thank you so much for coming in, mate.
Cheers. Thanks for listening.
Cheers, mate.